Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. With over 1,000 NCAA commitments, the EHL is the proven path to college. Turn it up and learn more about the college placement leader at the Division II and III levels.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, "We take care of our own," as they help out all of those within the hockey community who experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin. This is episode number 64 of the E-Show, and for the first time in podcast history, we're doing it live together, guys. This is special.
One big EHL family, all literally being a family together.
Yes. We are coming to you live from the Sheraton Great Valley Hotel, where all the teams will be staying this week. It's the Frozen Finals. It actually just feels surreal that we're even here right now.
It does.
We finally made it.
It was a depressing time last year, as we said, but it's also kind of a good silver line too, Neil, that we made it to this point, and we're moving on. Teams are coming down, people are here, and we're gonna pack up the rink and play some hockey.
And we have the usual E-crew with me, Jeff Mills, Kyle McKenna, Brittany Hart, but also a special guest in Chris Russo, who's joining us. Chris will be our Brian Boucher, if you will.
Yes.
Inside the glass, but I still haven't even figured out what we're going to call what you're standing on yet. It's a platform.
It's a platform.
But it's like a well-constructed platform.
It's like a platform. And also, especially because I don't know how to skate, I prefer Pierre Maguire.
Yes, okay.
Also because Pierre Maguire actually went to the same high school that, I'm pretty sure went to the same high school that my dad and my uncle and one of my cousins did at Bergen Catholic.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we've talked about platforms on this podcast before, though, and you haven't seen the East Coast Wizards rink, but they have a stanchion there that you kind of have to get your footing, and once you get your footing, you can't move, because the second you move like a hair, the whole thing starts shaking like this. Your platform, or whatever we're going to call it, is a lot more stable.
That's an excellent thing.
I've never been on the platform. I do remember seeing, because it's very strange how it worked out, because we were fortunate enough, we did, I think just one game at Iceline this year, and it's strange because usually at Jersey Shore Arena, I'm on one side of the rink and Anthony DePaolo is on the other. Yep. I'm between the benches, Anthony DePaolo's on the other side. And for this, it was really weird because I'm in the penalty box and the platform is next to me. So it's on the bench side of the ice, and it's just really weird. And then the camera had to be at a really awkward angle, especially for interviews.
Yeah,
so
I think you have to climb a ladder to get up to it. So.
Oh, I know. And I know Anthony is a little shorter and a lot lighter than I am. So it's going to be very interesting, especially with me having some heavy suit clothes on. It's going to be very strange and very, very difficult to try to get up that ladder.
Yep. And before we start making our way around all the different matchups that are going to take place this week, Kyle's been posting a quote from each team. And they've all been good. But there was one that really stood out to me, and it was what Dante Terramani said. And we already basically talked about it when we started this is essentially 2 years in the making. And it feels like that for us as well, because we were 2 weeks away from this last year. And to get that close to not get to it, I think I used that ridiculous Monopoly reference on one of the recent episodes that we got kicked back to the start. But it really did feel like that. And now we're back at the spot that we wanted to get to. We surpassed it all the way. Before we get to the Around the E-Show, there is one member of our staff that wasn't able to join us, and we want to give our best wishes to Bob D'Alessio. Bob is crushed even more than we are that he can't make it, because he got kicked back to start again, right? He basically got kicked back to the start again. Mm-hmm. But Bob was supposed to be the equipment guy for the event. Bob, unfortunately, suffered a mild stroke recently and is not going to be able to make it down. We do have a gift that we're actually working on for him, an all-star jersey that every single player that is here will be signing. So I can only imagine the reaction that he is going to give when he gets that. So with that, let's start making our way around the E-Show and breaking down all of these great matchups.
It's time for this week's segment of Around the E-Show.
And Around the E-Show is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast. Your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
So we have three teams that are here in the EHL. that went 4-0 to get here. And we have one team that's here that went 0-2 to get here. But that team has two things that the others don't.
A championship.
EHL championship trophies.
Does that,
baby.
does that
500?
does that factor in at all?
I think it's
Yeah.
it has to some degree. I mean, having Chris and Mario behind the bench for those two championships, they're back now. Obviously, we've talked about it. Chris Aarons is the only player that's back from
Only
those
one.
teams. One. So, to a degree, I think it does. He's going to, I mean, Aarons is the captain, and hopefully he can give his boys some words of encouragement and give them some, prior experience that would help them. Just like you would in the NHL, right? You lean on the veteran guys and stuff like that. But only having one veteran, but two veteran coaches, I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think
It's
that's
very
what makes
interesting.
junior hockey so unique. Is obviously the roster turnover from year to year is what we want because that means kids are
Right.
moving on. But to have one kid left from your 2018-19 championship team, it's unique. It's tough. We'll see. I mean, Chris Sorella said we could go 3-0. We can go 0-3.
Yeah.
What I'm curious for is they were off last week.
Right.
Does that help or hurt?
Rusty.
Right.
Yeah.
They were sitting there wondering, are we even going to this thing or what?
Yeah.
It's RR, Rusty arrested. What is it going to be?
You know how many games they've played in the month of March?
2.
2.
Wow.
2. You know how many games they've played since February 24th, the day before my birthday?
4.
2.
Oh.
2
Still
games.
at 2.
But the other thing, too, you
Two
look at,
games.
they didn't play their best hockey in the second half. We all know that. I'm sure Chris and Mario would tell us that as well. So maybe it was good to have a little bit of a reset. It allows them to kind of go watch some films, see what you did wrong, see what you need to fix.
We don't break down injuries on this podcast. HIPAA, right? But we know they were banged up.
What the heck is HIPAA?
HIPAA is
Health
a
code
health
violation.
privacy.
Oh.
Like when someone gets COVID, you can't say they have COVID. That's
Right.
totally violating their privacy.
Oh.
Can't we can't announce their medical records like, when
Yes.
you were 12, you had blah, blah, blah.
But here's your first question when you ask Chris Aarons because I want to test.
Is this a HIPAA question?
No. This is a test his memory because the last time they were in the finals was a championship game
Yeah.
against the Little Flyers. Do you remember the third goal?
No, I can barely remember yesterday.
Mendezoon shot from the point, and 3 of them were celebrating in the corner because Aarons thought he tipped it, and then Mendezoon and the other D partner were celebrating at center ice because he thought he shot it in.
Oh my god.
So tonight you're gonna find out who scored that goal.
Okay.
Okay, that's gonna be your question.
we will get to the
Because
bottom of it.
in the box score it says Chris Aarons, but now that we're back here again, we need to figure out if he actually got a piece of that because he acted like he did.
And then can we go back and edit it if it was
Well, I remember
Firstowski
Mendezoon did. He
Mendezoon.
grabbed the whole ice and everything, and I was like, so Mendezoon scores. But wait, why is he going crazy over here?
That's
So-
how you know, even on your own team, defensemen versus forwards, it's still a social divide. We really don't know how the other half lives.
Yes,
Yeah.
not at all. And it's we talked about the Avalanche. They're obviously here as the at-large. If there was any team that you could say had an argument towards them, it has to be the Walpole Express. They won 4 playoff games. They essentially, you can look at it as they were 3 points away from being here, and that's where I never want to say anything about a team playing a different lineup or whatnot, but every point really does matter. When you start 0-4-1, or you drop a few games here, a few games there, you know who the biggest spoiler this season is in our entire league?
Valley Junior Warriors.
Valley Junior Warriors.
Yeah.
Get up, Rhyme Grab.
They have wins over 2 teams that are here.
Yeah. They finished with 10 wins on the season? 10 or
They-
11?
I hate the label, but they're a last place team.
Yeah.
Like
Statistically speaking, yeah.
they are part of the reason why Walpole's not here.
Yep.
Like it's crazy to think about, and we probably on this podcast will all agree. The Avalanche maybe the least likely to win this thing,
Yeah.
but they've done it before. The coach has done it before. The one thing that I know Chris will do from previous years is he's going to use everybody he has. So we have a 27-man protected list this season. He will use 27 guys. The first year they won, they used 24 of 25.
Yep.
He went back. He went alternated. It was we're dating myself with the
It
goalie
was
names.
Pagluka
and Sorgi.
Sorgi.
Every other.
Yep.
And I bring that up because the other teams, they're not doing that.
Nope.
This is the John Kopak show. Maybe Jeremy Connor. Maybe that's the one team I see them going to.
Nathan
And-
Miller. No Brogan McDonald.
Nathan Miller,
Unless break glass in case.
Chris Jackson could come in depending on where you're at, and it's
David Raduzzi.
It's David
show.
Raduzzi's show.
Yep. Sure
And at this point, whenever people say to me, they're tired. Yeah, I see that. We watch the games that you exert yourself. Like, I get it. It's a long season, but they're also teenagers.
Right.
There has to be some sort of adrenaline right now that's kicking in.
Oh,
Like-
absolutely.
and
Once they hit that ice at Iceland, music's pumping.
and if you know you're going to the championship and you have the off day Saturday, I would be shocked if those 3 other teams use somebody else in goal, unless a goalie gets lit up or there's an injury. I would be shocked if we see anybody but Kopak, Miller, and Raduzzi.
Neil, I think I've been saying this all year on the podcast. What I've been saying, it's a broken record. Expect the unexpected.
It's just
Did we expect any of this? And just going back to the Avs, I remember watching a documentary once on the Boston Red Sox. You guys are baseball fans.
Yeah.
And Kurt Schilling is on a bus. They're down 3-0 to the New York Yankees in 2004.
Yep.
And he says out loud, him and Kevin Millar, "Why not us?"
Yeah, it's the best.
So
ever.
I think all 4 teams are probably saying that this weekend. Any of the guys I've spoken to, they're confident yet humble. It's a good mix.
Yep.
But for the Avalanche, it's definition of their attitude. Why not us?
Yeah.
And I know when I spoke to Captain Aarons, he expressed there's still a lot of passion there, and there's the respect level for the coaching staff and the guys that put on that sweater before.
Yep.
So I'm on board with the Avs. I think we could see something here. And, sometimes, like, you get to the big stage, and, like you said, these kids are teenagers.
Yep.
People are watching. It's a big event. They have all the attention in the world. It's who can handle that pressure.
Yep.
Are you gripping the stick a little tighter? What depth players are going to come out
They're going to
and
be
show?
nervous this week. They're going to be nervous when they start.
I think it's, like, some of those factors matter.
Yeah.
And for a guy like Aarons, who's done it before,
Yeah.
we need to consider that.
I will tell you the one guarantee that I would bet on. When I poll the other 13 coaches in the league on who they think's going to win, there will be 0 votes for the Avalanche.
Sheesh.
Because I think they all want to see somebody else win.
Right.
And I think is why they're going to say that. Not because they
Right.
think whether or not. I think the rest of the league would be like, let's see somebody else lift that trophy, which I have here somewhere. We should have put it right. We should have put it right in the middle of us.
Should have.
So the question now is, besides why not us, the question now is, will the New Hampshire Avalanche cowboy up?
Yeah, Cowboy up. Another great one. I mean, I don't know if the 87's players have heard my audio yet, but I made that guarantee on whatever podcast that was. If they're the first ones ever to win the regular season title and the playoff title in the same year, at next year's season opener, my hair will be bleach blonde.
Oh, that's right. I said, didn't they use a little bit of that
Wow.
playoff hype video?
Yeah.
I've been around them, and I can say, besides the playoff hype video, it seems like the majority of that team is bleach blonde now.
Yes.
And it is.
Oh, yes.
And it is a little bit frightening to me.
Go
But
ahead.
it-
One player was bleach blonde from day one. I saw him on the rink.
Peyton?
I forget who it was.
Peyton Jones has had blonde hair
Yes,
for
yes, yes.
ever.
He's got.
That might be it.
He had
Yeah.
bleach blonde for.
So I said I would do it because it's a curse that's never been broken, right? So and
Makes things fun.
That's-
Adam Hooley's wife Rachel, she's a hairstylist. She promised me that my hair would turn back to the normal color afterwards. She promised me it would turn back. So let's see if they pull it off, right? The one thing let's talk about them for a second. Obviously, there are people who've moved on from this league, coaches that have moved up, or players that are alumni now, who've reached out just for a little bit of an explanation on the at-large. I'm sure you've all had to explain it a little bit too. It's different.
Yeah.
But it guaranteed the 87's here. But they guaranteed that they were going to get here the right way. And they could have lost to the Little Flyers. But based off the way they played, they never took their foot off the gas.
Yeah, I will absolutely say that was the key quote from pretty much the whole postseason was Anthony DePaul and I talking to Adam Hooley and to Matt Kieran and all the guys really, and them saying, we know we've earned our way here. We finished with the best record in the regular season, but it's not. It's a strange year.
Yep.
It's something you might not see again, and the fact is we want to get there the right way. And except for maybe the last 20 minutes against Maryland, they blew by them of the first
game, yes.
And then you could tell. I remember watching the Little Flyers game, game 1, and thinking after 20 minutes, and then they had that 3-minute power play to start the 3-minute remainder of the 5-minute power play to start the third period. And I think a lot of people, I don't think I was the only one that after they did not convert a goal on that power play, I was thinking, oh man, they might be done, not for the series, but they might be done for today. This might be the Little Flyers. And then they come back with 3 in the last 10 minutes. And look, obviously we don't have a ton of people there. There were maybe 30 or 40 people there, and they're all parents, of course. But it's the loudest I've probably ever heard that building.
Yep.
And with the possible exception of Seton Hall, Michigan State men's basketball, it is probably the best game I've ever worked on.
Chris went to Seton Hall for all of you at home.
Yeah, just to point it out.
Yeah, I remember just getting the text messages that day.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember Brittany was like, "Get up, like 3-2-87s," and I went online to confirm it because I was like, "Wait, is this serious or is she?"
Yeah, sometimes when she texts, I think she's lying though too. So.
All right, that's as Neil was texting 30 seconds into the BJR Walpole game. Walpole's up 2-0, and I'm like, yeah.
I remember that joke. That was a good one. That was when I said that Rich began the game with an empty net for some reason. It's just a unique style. I don't know what you want to do, but I have to bring that up because I don't know why I got on this tangent for a second there, because Justin Squitieri texted me about our round robin rules. And when you read them closely, there's a chance that we see some unique stuff this week. Because you have to remember that when the round robin standings, that's like a tongue twister, begin playing themselves out, you may get into a situation where you can't tie that game. And you need the extra point. We may see someone pull a goalie in a tie game this week.
That's some Jimmy.
Jimmy would do that. Jimmy would do that.
That is a Jimmy move.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's some Olympic round robin type stuff.
Because this was the point structure that we wanted to have the last time we were going to have it, which is last year. The first 2 years of the round robin, it was just the standard 2 points for a win, 1 point for an overtime loss. But we've realized as a league, you really have to add some value to winning a game in 60 minutes. So it's 3 points for that 60-minute victory, 2 points if you do it in overtime, 1 point for if it ends after 5 minutes overtime, just a straight-up tie. There's no shootout.
Right.
No shootout.
No skills competitions in the playoffs.
And part of that was honestly I've said on this podcast, we've only ever had one game go to overtime in the history of the finals.
Yeah.
The history. But heaven forbid that game lasts 2 or 3 overtimes and it's Wednesday night or Thursday night. Now those kids, teenagers or not, are gassed by the weekend. So with this format though, Brittany said Jimmy, he pulls the goalie when you're not expecting him to pull the goalie, right?
Yeah.
He's a big, we're down 5-2, what's 6-2? I'll pull the goalie with 9 minutes left.
That's what Lounsey used to do. John Lounsey
love to do that.
Express,
so
same thing.
I don't know if it will happen, but there's a chance we see something kind of weird over the next 3 days.
Neil, you impress me every time we go on this podcast because it's reverse psychology. You're basically one of these coaches now is going to pull the goalie.
Yes.
After hearing this?
Yes, they may.
This is
probably not to start the game. but
probably.
But it's and you know what? We mentioned the Avalanche to start talking about the 87s. Obviously, two teams entering this in different ways. 87s obviously want to have what the Avalanche have, a championship. But the 87s aren't the only one that thinks that they can win this thing.
Right.
The Rangers think that they can win this. The Lumberjacks think that they can win this. Yep. And for the Rangers, we talk about every point mattering. How many points were they away from the regular season title?
A few.
3.
Not a lot.
It was very close.
Limited number.
And
they had some tight losses.
They wanted that to be last year carried into this year. We won it last year. Let's get it again this year, and then for the 99s, as Rich says, let's finish it the right way.
Yep.
And that came down to, I want to say, a loss to the Wizards in the last or the second to last week of the season was really the difference in that. And when I look at the Rangers team this year compared to last year's team is not going to like when I say that. I think this year's team is better.
They are a Robbie Sea wagon.
Yeah, it is. I think of the forward units that we're going to see, they all have top forwards. I think from 1 through 12. Yep. This is legit.
Yeah.
This is legit. And if we get into some high-scoring games, maybe. I don't know. I just feel like that's the team. I don't know if
They score at will.
I don't know if I wanted to be against them. I mean, the first game that we have, Lumberjacks versus Rangers, I shouldn't say it's just the Rangers that score. The Lumberjacks score at will also. I think they have
The
five.
Lumberjacks have been on fire.
What was that Wolves series? 7-3, 6-4 finals?
So
They live on high score.
is the first game going to be 7-6?
I'll go 10 goals. Lumberjacks 23 goals for.
I don't know that Miller will let in that many goals, to be quite honest.
This is why we're here. It's why we play the
I
games.
honestly think Verduzzi settles down a bit too. I mean, he was so good last year, and I know his goals against numbers and stuff were a little higher this year, but he's a really good goaltender, and who's to say that when the spotlight comes on him that he's not like, here I am, I wanted to do this last year, here we go, and then he slams the door.
This is my moment.
Well, I mean, think about the difference in that team between. I don't think anybody really expected Vermont to be, or the Lumberjacks to be here.
Besides Jim Mosso.
Yeah.
I think it's a fact, right? None
Jim
of us picked them.
well, but the thing that I think is great about Jimmy is he'll. What did he say to me in the car yesterday?
I don't know. There was a lot of quotes.
I think he said, "Have I ever led you wrong?" or something like that.
Oh yeah, he's like, Neil, have I ever lied to you? Look at everything I've ever said to you. Have I ever lied
And
to you?
it stands out more for his premier team because in October he was like, watch out for this premier team. And I was like, they've played 4 games. Like, I don't know what to think yet. And then they're here also. We'll get to the P, but like he said the same thing about the EHL team. He's like, no one really knows how good we are, and I think that's what makes these 4 teams so unique. You know how many games they played before Christmas?
9, I think it was.
9. So when he came back,
6-3,
he's like, obviously they dropped 3 straight to Seacoast right off the hop. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We were like, dang.
And we were like,
Yikes.
Seacoast is a wagon, and then here come the Wolves, and then Seacoast wins the Granite Cup, and then the Avs are kind of teetering backwards, but they're still in first place. But then Vermont got hot, and what Mosso said is they basically had to start over because they only played 9 games. They had such limited practice time that he thinks his team is still getting better every game.
I kind of want to go around the horn here, and we'll start to my left with Chris, go around, or we can start with, the Queen, Brittany.
Yes.
Ladies first.
Yes, ladies first.
Resident
So,
lady first.
I touched base with one of the Lumberjacks players a few months back, and potentially they're a little more prepared for this moment than the other teams. Granted, the 87s have the best record,
Yep.
Junior Rangers second best, whatever, Avalanche, defending champions, but they've been living in a hotel.
That's a good point. That's a very good
So
point. Yeah.
I can't stress enough, just like the little things, the preparation, how you take care of your bodies, what you're eating, taking care of your equipment.
Yep.
Maybe we kind of slept on the Lumberjacks there for just a split second. I'm going to go around the horn, but that lifestyle, they can kind of transition that a little better than other teams that have been staying home in the South or Massachusetts.
Do you know what their record is in their last 10 games?
Probably 7-3.
9-1-0.
Wow.
And the one loss didn't matter. It was a game against the Wolves where they already knew they were playing the Wolves in the second round.
Mic drop.
They're maybe the hottest team here, and the majority of the league and the community following the EHL is leading 87's Rangers.
And Egan Schmidt has 11 points in 4 games, he said?
And I think Fine Leafs has 11 points as well. They're both both 2 points out from getting into the EHL record books for points in a postseason, which when you look at that record book now, what the folks at home have to realize is if you do it now, say you tie someone from a previous season, I'm always going to place your name above because doing it now is more impressive because we used to be 3 best-of-3 series and the best of 5. Yeah. So the number of games you were able to play to get to that number was significantly higher. He has 11 points in 4 games. Yep. 4 games.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves to be on that list regardless, right?
It's insane.
Can I just point out, by the way, I was looking over some of the stats. I'm doing my notes, and obviously there are not, they haven't been very few interdivisional matchups this year.
Oh.
And obviously, so I'm pretty much going back to last year's notes. So I'm going back to last year's notes, and I'm looking at it, and there's not a lot for Vermont. And there's one thing I see here: Egan Schmidt, 4 games against Boston last year, a goal and 5 assists.
Look at that.
Wow, Chris coming in with the stats.
Holy
Brittany,
cow,
Brittany,
fellas.
get up. This kid gets up when Boston's in the house.
6
Holy cow,
points
fellas.
for-
And the rest of that roster, last year's Lumberjacks team, how many age outs did they have?
Like
A million.
18.
The whole team.
20.
Yep.
He's one of the only guys that came back. He's not even an age out, dude. He's an 0-1.
It's young.
On that list of we're gonna start working on a list of top 0-1s. Zach Simon, Egan Smith. I know it's my fantasy team. I'm sorry.
I love Zach Simon too.
But like Egan Smith, like he may not win the MVP award, and I think this is a whole different podcast debate that we could define just as how do you define the most valuable player when it's late in the game, like watch that kid. Like, he may not have a goal the first 2 periods, but he gets the one that counts late.
Well, it makes sense, because if you look at his stats, he's got 18 points in 35 games in the regular season, but it's a guy who really scores in bunches.
Yeah.
I mean, the negative side of that, you'll say inconsistent, but when he's on, he is on. And when he's on, he is maybe the best player on this team.
And he plays on a line with Paul Feinleis. They haven't played the Rangers yet this season. We know they're rivals. I think that's safe to say. Whether you play each other or not, did I do that matchup intentionally to start this whole event off? No. Am I disappointed with myself for doing that? No. I think that's a great way to start.
No air
things.
quotes either, Neil?
No. I that's how I wanted to do it. It was kind of I took the number 1 seed that's here, the 87s, put them up against the 4 seed, technically, in the Avalanche, and then 2 versus 3. Day 2 is 1, 2, and 3, 4. For the, in chalk, you're supposed to have 1, 2 go the whole way, right? So I didn't want to have 1, 2 play on Friday, and again on Sunday.
Right.
Because if Friday didn't mean anything, are you playing for who has the last change Sunday? Like, that's... No one really cares at that point, right? I say that, but the coaches are like, last change it's uber important, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
So, I mean, they're all great matchups. The 87s, I can't even remember the last time they faced the Avalanche.
Last year, apparently. I didn't get the score, but I did...
It was at the September
showcase.
showcase.
It was the mic'd up game.
Yeah, it was the first
mic'd up game.
showcase.
It was the first showcase, and
At Rodman?
it was a...
Yeah.
Yes, it was a 2-1 victory.
We all know
For
Chris
the
Sorrella does not
Avalanche.
like
For the 80
showcases.
for the
Just kidding,
87s.
just kidding.
For the 87s.
Chris's
And-
all-time record at showcase is like 5-5 and
Yeah.
5
and
minutes for
I
500.
remember this because Hooley was like, I just beat him. Why won't he talk to me? And I was like, I don't know, man.
This is Chris Sorrella.
I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't want to lose to you. So, I mean, like, to start off with those matchups, though, every matchup here is perfect. But to start that on day 1, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, for sure.
And day 2, maybe it's going to be 87's Rangers in the final. But we'll find out on Thursday. I mean, this is one of those things. They're going to have to work to get there. And it's not the same as a best of 3 where you lose game 1, you feel like you're in a hole for a while. But you lose game 1, you're going to feel like you're in a hole. But you can look back at history. Kyle will like this one. 2017-18 Frozen Finals. Revolution lost the first game. But they
Philly
still
Rev.
made the championship. So
Right.
losing game 1 is not a death sentence. You can still fight back and get to that championship game.
Well, especially this year, if you force overtime or you get a tie or something.
Yes, and you know we're gonna get overtime games this year because I've said it so many times. I
hope
keep
so.
saying it so that something
Trying to
happens.
project it to
Right.
the universe.
Yeah.
Overtime.
We're
Please come to
manifesting.
us.
All of a sudden, there's a story that goes up Saturday morning. EHL sets record for 6 overtime games in 3 days, but they would only be 5 minutes long. The overtime,
We're
right?
still in game 1 of the round robin, and it's taken 3 days to
But-
play all this.
All games went exactly 5 minutes, and all points were scored at the buzzer. All
Yes,
games.
exactly. But think about how great the 5-minute overtimes were during the regular season for the games that we went to, right?
Yeah.
I saw a lot of them.
Imagine here.
Oh,
Imagine here.
My
Like-
chest hurts just thinking about that.
Like we're not gonna be nervous in the same way as the players will.
I think
What?
Thursday I might be
Debatable.
nervous.
That's debatable.
Thursday I'm going to be a little fired up.
She'll be nervous Thursday because when the crew that's coming, the parents that's coming, see the pants that she's wearing, they're gonna be like, wait a second. Are you here with the Lumberjacks? Because the sleeves seem to match the pants. Wait, have you guys seen this?
There,
You've
there
seen
it
that.
You
is.
showed the picture, yes.
Oh,
I did show you the pic last night.
So, I mean, I will say
Chop
this.
down for us.
You know, I know Kyle will want to talk about this. Of all the jerseys here, the white Lumberjacks jersey
Yuck.
is probably the best.
It's junior.
Yuck
final.
is good yuck for all you old folk at
Oh my
home.
god. But it's a white base, and the sleeves I want to say are full
plaids. They
flannel.
are.
Like there's no break in it. It's a full plaid the
Yeah.
whole way down. Now I have to give Mosso crap. The plaid on the socks comes so high up
It looks like a kilt.
that it looks like it's under the pants. So you can't.
Look, there's no plaid on those.
the plaid is on the
sleeves.
socks.
Where?
You can't like when you
Maybe this
when
is
you
a-
zoom in, it's right.
Oh,
It's so high up you can't see it. So it looks like a plain white sock.
Yeah, that's what I just.
So
that's what I just
basically,
said
they
there.
basically they should have taken that rectangle and put it a couple inches lower, and then it would have showed up there.
So the sleeves start like not at the
Yeah,
shoulder.
they start kind of around the bicep, if you will. But it's
Ooh.
the Lumberjacks logo.
Ooh.
Aren't those
The
cool?
Lumberjacks logo is the best logo in the league. Like, I'll say that to
Yeah.
anyone. Like
The little lumber dude.
there's good logos, but it just fits who they are.
Yeah.
When you combine it with the whites, and I even think their green jerseys are pretty legit.
I like.
Oh,
I've
I
always
like
liked
the
those.
greens.
Yeah,
Have
I've
you
always
seen
liked
them?
No,
those.
I have not.
Okay,
Yes.
please hold. Let me go
That's
back to
been their
my
jersey for years.
pals
with
Instagram.
the red buckets.
I'm
Yes.
getting like
I'm on board.
I'm getting like a mix of Devil's Reverse Retro and like Minnesota Wild nostalgia. That's
A little
right.
bit, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty good. That's
So
not
not,
bad.
not as like bright green as the
They
Devils.
started.
Old ones.
I don't want to call it a trend, but they started a.
Revolution.
They started. They were the
R.I.P.
first to do this. They have one set of numbers for the entire organization. So if you're Jackson Collins, right, and you've played EHL and EHLP, you're number 20 on both teams. So it's a lot of other teams have started to do that because you want to call a kid up, but he's number 10, but this kid's number 10 on your EHL team, and he's got to wear a number 24 on the other team, and his helmet says 10 on the front. And what I liked about what he did is they did it throughout their whole organization, right? Back when they had midget teams, and the whole idea behind it was, you want to be number 12, go up to that top team. So some of the teams that were considered lower, you got like 92 and 85, but
Like, what number is Colby Anton? He's like
Colby
98.
Anton's 98.
We had the same thing at the Revs. back in
I
the
think
day.
it's a cool thing because I think it makes you want to climb up, want to get your number, right? You have to earn it. You have to get to that spot.
Back then, like wearing number 47, like wasn't cool. But if that's what you had, like
Yeah,
It is now.
and I don't want to make it sound like their jerseys are like here and the rest of the league is down here. That's at this finals, but I do
They stick out.
I do love the white. I mean, the other teams, the Rangers, the Grays are new this year.
I love the grays, hate the whites. The whites are brown. so-
Avalanche are going with the yellows, which I've yet to
Avalanche
see
are
in
going the
person.
yellows every game.
Raise your hand if you like the yellows. My hand's down.
Well, when
like
you
in the
see the
middle.
yellows, I wish the
Could be worse.
I wish the letters were a little bit bigger. I wish it just said Avs.
Instead of Avalanche,
Yes.
this big AVS.
Yeah, the Avalanches, it's a little bit smaller of a font. But what's funny is you look back at their previous two championship pictures,
They're in the blues.
Blues.
they're in the blues.
Those are sharp.
Does this mean anything?
No.
Are you
absolutely, it means everything.
Superstitious. Here we go.
Are you
I
telling
say
me
no
these are their
before-
Patriot whites? Is that what you're telling me?
The what?
The Patriot whites.
For the Super Bowl.
Yes, yes. That's a great point.
Didn't they lose in the whites, right?
They lost to the
Against the
Whites
Eagles.
to the
The
Eagles.
Right.
Eagles,
Yes,
yeah.
but
Fly
they.
Eagles, fly red Philly country.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Alo loves that.
The
Get
Giants
And then the
lost
Giants
were
wore the
blue.
whites.
Yes,
okay.
and I
Giants-
think they
yeah.
wore the whites still against the Rams the year that they won. So
Falcons, right?
and then Tom wore white again this year in his 7. I didn't bring my 7 sweatshirt. I really should have brought it. I got the big. You saw it, the big red 7
Yes.
because Tom's won 7.
For a second, I thought you were talking
You
about
still love
the
Tom.
87
Really?
sweatshirt.
I've never heard that from anyone.
So,
Tom
you know
Brady's
what-
won 7 Super Bowls?
Yeah,
What?
you know what Chris will do if the Avalanche wins 7 EHL championships? He'll
He's
make
gonna
his
get
own 7.
Yeah. Well, actually, if he wins it this year, is it going to be 3? He's gonna
Oh,
get
probably.
by a
Probably.
3.
And
Start
it-
the-
you know what? Someone will say there's an asterisk because he was the at-large. But you know what? This is the format that we've had since the beginning of January. The whole league has known this. And I think the best part about the at-large is, did we, in a sense, throw a bone towards the bottom teams by letting everybody into the playoffs? We probably did. But by having something to fight for at the top, we also threw a bone to the top teams. If you are the regular season champion, you're coming here. And that kept them playing down the stretch. And I think that's what's going to make this so unique is these kids have played almost every game. Like there hasn't been a situation where they've said, you know what, we have a chance to rest a guy this game. They've played every game.
Yeah, we played almost every game, but we had yet one 3-game series in this whole entire playoffs. We keep calling 3-game series. We might have just called it a 2-game series.
Well, here's the thing. 2 teams have proven you right in different ways. The 87s proved you right because even though they won the regular season title and, they could have said, oh, we have nothing to play for, we can rest, yada, yada, yada. We want to do this the right way. We want to get to the final. They earned their way to the final technically twice this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's Vermont. And you said, you throw the lower teams a bone. Vermont really earned their way to the final.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy likes being the underdog. He likes people to kind of take him
for
lightly
sure.
and kind of... He's like,
But he also loves the fact that he reigns the North right now.
Yeah.
Oh, my
yeah.
God.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Oh.
EHL and EHLP.
He asked us for that graphic. He asked us for that
The
graphic.
Who Reigns the North graphic that I made.
He didn't wait for that to get sent to him. Like he asked us for that graphic.
Rightfully so.
And
That's a really good beat your chest moment. You're like, we won both leagues. That's a huge.
And we'll touch on the EHLP for a second because it's so much different than the EHL. Like
We have a different franchise.
you had to think like the way that things were playing out all season long. It's like Pencil, man, Avalanche, Rangers. They'll be here. They're not here.
Neither.
That is like what?
Congrats to the Odessa family and the Railers coming back yesterday and winning.
And
I'm like
down
watching
2-0.
from the back seat of the military tank we have as a rental car, and I'm watching the game, and Neil and Jeff are just talking about God knows what, and I'm screaming in the back seat. I'm like, the Worcester Railers have won the P game. They are coming to Pennsylvania.
I think I said, are you lying?
Right, and then he's like, wait, are you being serious? And I'm like, look, here's the Selly on my phone. Yeah, they're going nuts.
It was kind of reminiscent of the Game 1 Little Flyers 87s when it was 2-0 Little Flyers.
Yeah.
Same thing,
2-0
2-0 Rangers yesterday.
Difference
Also,
is
it
this
was
one took overtime.
Yeah.
And I bring it up because we've touched on it already. It's not over till the final horn sounds. That Avalanche Lumberjacks series with the trip here on the line, score of game 1 was 4-0 Avs.
Yeah, that was what was the score of the second BJR Railers game?
7-1.
Right.
What? How do you
7-1 to come from behind 2-0 and win 3-2 in overtime. What?
The Railers and the Lumberjacks, P teams, each picked up 2 wins in that round to get here. All the games were in overtime. Lumberjacks won 2 in a row in overtime. Railers won game 1 and game 3 in overtime.
Good thing they get a little time off, even though we said
So
they're
I
young
think the EHLP guys are like, EHL, bang out all the overtimes in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, give us our
On
time.
Saturday, let's just play in 60.
Yeah. I think the coolest thing about the P this year is, think about it. You said Pencil and the Avalanche. They're not coming. Boston, 2-time champion. They're not coming. New England, champion. Not coming. It's going to be a first-time champion.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing about all this.
True. That's so fun.
You got New Jersey, you got Vermont, you got the Railers. It's 3 teams. I mean, New Jersey you might have expected, but the other 2 teams are probably ones you wouldn't, perhaps ones you wouldn't expect. You would figure Boston and New Hampshire. It's going to be a first-time champion. It's going to be really fun to watch.
And those 2 teams, the 87s and the Railers, are 2 new-ish
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Railers last year, that was their first year. Now their second year, they're at the finals.
Yeah.
Get up, Odessa!
And when you just said that, Chris, the 3 EHL teams that haven't won their first championship yet just said it's going to be a first-time champion at both levels.
Yeah.
The only one listening still, Chris is like, okay,
Hello.
it'll be a 3-time champion.
Hello.
He
We won.
The
Hello?
question, I
I
guess,
said at the P.
Yes,
at the P.
yes.
At the P.
Yeah.
I
But-
wanted to
but
make sure of that.
you have to remember with these guys, their ears perk up with the smallest thing that you say.
Yeah.
The smallest thing you
Remember
say.
your numbers on the itinerary, and they'll be shocked when you come
my
on text
God.
messages.
Breakfast is at 8 a.m. If it's
sorry, what?
if it's at 8:05, I wrote the wrong thing on the itinerary. Okay, if breakfast is at 8 a.m.
To be like,
I should have wrote in nap times too, just to make sure everyone knew exactly where we were supposed to be, right? I mean, it's the locker room stuff too. We for the EHL teams, they're set in the same locker room each day. So it's Kyle's point. He brought it up about the Lumberjacks. They've kind of been in this mentality, this hotel mentality. I mean, another point to the hotel in Waterville Valley. Up until recently, it's been freezing cold out there.
Ooh.
Like
Yeah, you
it is
said
another level of cold at that
tundra,
lake.
frozen
It's
Lambeau
gonna be like
Field
70s all week here. Everyone's gonna be like, it's summer. We can go outside without our parkas on.
Yes.
How are the temperatures in Iceland?
Iceland
Cooler
Rink
rink,
1
warmer
is
rink,
not
not
that
too bad.
bad.
Yeah, it's more
That's
like a
good.
pro.
Yeah, and
Wait, so I didn't bring my Canada Goose jacket, so I'm not gonna freeze.
you're gonna be good.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
You also you move around a lot in a
Yeah.
rink, so the blood continues to flow, so you'll be fine.
That's true.
I'll be a little more stationary.
But all the games are on Rink 1, which has the bar and the pub overlooking it. The whole, like, the built-out custom locker rooms, we're taking that whole section over. We have a press conference room. This is, like, it still hasn't hit me yet.
No, until
I
we
still have
go.
like nerves and jitters. And we
I
all didn't
feel
sleep
like-
well last night because we're all just
No.
like anticipating this whole like this is. We've said it too. Me, you, and Brittany have been here for all the finals. And each year we've tried to take it up a notch. Now we bring in Kyle and Chris, and each year we try to add more staff
And Joe.
and everybody and Joe and Ken.
And we have
It's their first
Anthony
Frozen
DePaul is
Finals
going to
with
be
us.
working from home. Justin Squitieri is going to be working from home. And, like, it's one of those things where, some of the owners in the league have been like, how did you track all that when you're at the finals? I was like, you think I did that while I was calling the game? Like, no, there's other people that help out with this as well. And it's just, it was cool to have, like, I know there's going to be some people that hear this and say that I reached out as well. The number of people that reached out wanting to help out was enormous, and I'd love to have every single person here. I mean, it makes me sound selfish. The number of broadcasters that reached out asking to call the finals. I feel bad texting back, like, sorry, I kind of want to call it myself. Like, I feel bad texting that back, but it's like 5 or 6 guys a year, and like I don't know what to say. Like, this is, but
It's
for
your
me,
crown
this is the 2 years built up to this. Like, it's gonna hit me when the puck drops on Wednesday at 4:30.
Yeah.
That's when it's
That's
gonna hit
like-
me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, wow, we finally made it to this.
It's like, I was thinking about this, like, right now as we did this. I don't even think the first year I did interviews. Like, I definitely didn't.
No, I mean, it's
Yeah,
a lot of my ideas come when I'm either standing in the shower or laying in bed.
It's the best.
and
It's the
then,
best.
and
Or
it's
driving.
like, what else can I have Brittany do? And then we built in the interviews and the press conference stuff. I honestly, like, the NA can say it. I'm stealing it from them. I looked at the press conference room that they set up for what they call the Robertson Cup. It's the same type of backdrop, microphone, all that. It's one of those things where it kind of when I saw the way they did it, it reminded me of like a TV set. You think when you're watching TV, look at this great house that they're in, but it's obviously cut off like right in front of it.
Yeah.
Like they had a nice little closet setup. We're gonna have the player lounge setup. When you turn the camera around, it's gonna look like something else, but we're gonna make it look great in front of the camera. And the biggest thing, and we've seen it on Brits commits also, like, everything that we do in this league. While I want it to be 100% perfect, it's a learning experience for the kids as well. Mm-hmm. From the games to getting interviewed for the first time. Mm-hmm. Like, this is like for most of these kids is the first time they've ever had to answer questions like this.
Right.
In
Well,
high
that's-
school, it's like, let's just go out, put up points, and everyone loves me because I'm the leading scorer in my high school team.
Yeah.
Like, they never have to answer to anybody.
Well, that's a really good point. You say it all the time, and that's why the EHL has such a good job and in good relationships with these schools that we've developed over the years, placement, because they know that you're kind of giving them like an internship per se.
Grooming them.
Grooming them. Very good, Kyle. Very good.
Feeder program.
Grooming them to become athletes at the next level where you're going to have to, that stuff's just rudimentary. Yep, you got to show up for a press conference. You got to show up for an interview. You got to.
Right, you can't say no either. They're not like,
Yeah, exactly.
right, your college coach is going to make screw off, buddy. You can't
you
say
go to-
no.
And now I'm getting
Yep.
alumni who are graduating from college. Now it's like,
Thanking you for
Papa
what you
Ravin.
did years
like,
ago.
dude, I had a couple players reach out to me that were in their first year out of college this year for interviews about something that they're working on for their new job or whatnot. It's like, why do you want to interview me? But okay, like, all right, great. Like, but it's weird. It's cool to see because it's like I've been in the league that long that now these kids that were in it the first couple of years are graduating from college.
Yeah.
And we're part of the reason why they're going to college. And they put their trust and their faith in us. And I know there's going to be a lot of parents that come up to us this weekend. For those that are still considering coming down, there's a parent block set up at our hotel.
Oh, yes, please come.
It is filling fast.
The Sheraton would appreciate
I
it.
just got word that good old Tammy has moved over here.
Oh, we've switched hotels.
We've
Timmy
switched hotels.
Aaron.
See you tomorrow.
I could tell you, like, if we looked at each team's roster, I could tell you which parents I know are coming.
Oh, absolutely.
Just based off of the interactions throughout the year, because some of them are really good at Twitter.
Yes.
Some of them are just like one or two followers, but they follow the EHL.
Right.
And they don't really tweet ever, but they just want to read the news.
And they want to like stuff.
But they all listen to this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they all listen to this.
Sure do.
They go,
And,
hi,
like,
parent squad. Can't
like,
wait to meet you all.
There's going to be a bunch that come down, and that's part of the reason. It's nothing against the Rangers premier team, but when Jeff said, another franchise here, from a league perspective, that's good.
It's good.
It's
we
good.
like parody.
Yes.
Except for she does
I hate
not.
that word.
Do we want to, for the final one of the season, do we want to spell that out loud?
No, no, thank you.
But there was an episode
Wait,
early on this year, Chris, where we had a big, it was a really long conversation about parody, and it was
Part of our off the rails.
part of our
segment
off
for
the
that
rails
Oh my
sponsored.
god, a grammatical conversation.
Yes.
Oh, I should have been here.
Sponsored by Brittany, of course.
week. Yeah.
It was. I don't even know what episode it was. I have to go find that next summer.
We'll go in the vault. We'll
Yes.
find it.
Oh, parity is the separate. Parity is what the NBA does not have.
Yes.
TY.
Yeah, TY. Parody is scary,
GY.
scary movie.
When we stop the recording, there's a couple other words that Brittany has used in the past
Oh, that's
that have made us want to fall out of our chair.
I don't know exactly what words.
I remember one
Young
Yes.
Brit.
early on in the year.
We'll
too.
we'll just say that has to do with the time on when some games will be happening.
Right.
An early afternoon game and the certain word that goes with that. But we're not. We've already
Alright, I've already gotten tooled on.
we've already tripped you enough with that on the podcast. But for both divisions,
We're still grooming young Brit too.
My child.
just like our players.
Adam Hooley has pointed out to me that he really thinks that both divisions, whoever wins this thing, is a straight up coin flip.
Yeah.
He thinks any team of the 7 that are here, 4 EHL, 3 EHLP, have a legit chance to win.
Yep. And
Yeah.
there should be absolutely zero asterisks. Asterisks. Wow, that word is fun to say. Because as we said too, like this year of all years, like was the hardest year for everyone to. In a normal year, you don't see teams moving to a different state, changing.
We didn't even say that yet about Vermont. They changed states and they're still here.
Yep. Like that's insane.
Well, that's why I was hesitant earlier about saying Vermont Lumberjacks. I was like, they're playing in New Hampshire. And I know you usually see Lumberjacks just stylized on the website. You don't really see Vermont. I'm like, should I say it? Should I say it? Okay,
Well,
I'll say it.
Honestly, they aren't the Vermont Lumberjacks.
Yeah, I
So-
know.
They are Vermont, yeah.
We as a league still believe in COVID. COVID is still here. The pandemic is not over. Obviously, the move brought with it a change of the name on the website to Lumberjacks Hockey Club. It's the same thing still. The toughest part for them is like Vermont is in the logo.
Bless
Like
you.
Vermont is in the logo. You can't remove the word Vermont out of the logo.
Well, you know what? Look at it this way, okay? I live maybe 20, 25 minutes from MetLife Stadium. It may be in New Jersey. It's the New York Jets and the New York Giants. It's
My
the
condolences, Chris.
I don't know. It's the God. What else?
We have the New England Patriots who play in Foxborough,
Right.
Massachusetts.
No,
but when
I
you
know.
watch them on national television, it's like, here's downtown Boston.
Boston.
It's 45 minutes away. Like,
Here's downtown Burlington, Vermont. Also New England.
Foxborough, which is actually closer to Providence. So,
Literally, it
Yes.
is.
and funny, I don't think it's funny. It's not a shot at the Providence Friars, but
Oh.
it is like, so the last year that we had the finals was 2018-19, and it kind of had a similar feel to what the Avalanche went through last week. The Providence Friars still practiced that whole week.
Yes, they did. We moved our schedule around quite a bit that day, if you remember correctly.
Because
Oh, that was a
It's their
mess.
building, though.
it's
so-
their building, and hey, like,
Nate Lehman and
hey, we go in, they give us like the greatest treatment ever,
They did.
but they had to keep playing because of pairwise.
yep.
They made the Frozen Four that year.
Yep.
And I thought it was kind of funny. The one year we can't go back, they're waiting the same way, but then they don't get into the national tournament.
Yeah.
It's
Either them
just-
or the women's teams. They were both done like 2 days before. We're all like, should we talk to everyone at Schneider? See if we can just pop in? And they're like, no, I'm just kidding.
The hope is, and
See you next year, hopefully.
nothing has been voted on yet,
Oh, that's true too.
but if we were able to alternate north-south, I think that would be pretty cool.
Coffee, milk, coffee, milk, coffee, milk.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fair too.
And this is the, hey, I know there's college coaches coming. There's been a bunch that have reached out and said that they are coming. Typically they come earlier in the week to see the matchups that they haven't seen before. Because
Right.
in a normal year we always save the interconference matchup for the last day. when it's 2 Mid-Atlantic teams and 2 New England teams. And one college coach, quite frankly, said, when you get to the championship, at our college level, doesn't matter to us who wins.
Right.
Like you're gonna see a few different things in the championship that maybe help you recruit a kid, but at the same time, you're gonna see some stuff that maybe it's only happening because of the championship game, which that has to do with coaching and this and that. But for the first few days, they get to see Lumberjacks and Rangers for the first time. They get to see 87s and Avalanche for the first time. They get to see 87s and Rangers for the first time. They get to see Lumberjacks and Avs for the 12th time or whatever it is. but if they stay until Friday, I mean, the Rangers played the Avalanche this season, guys.
Yeah, they lost in a shootout.
Early, it was the first game of the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels
That was
like
last time I saw
it feels
you,
like
Neil.
7 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
We were at the ice den.
It's kind of crazy that they lost in a shootout, and now you look at the rosters from both teams at the beginning of the
Completely
year. It's
flipped.
like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, they
I-
both did.
and
A lot of turnover.
that was this year.
That feels like ages ago.
That's part of the reason why I don't think it really has hit home for me yet that we're here right now.
We may all be sitting in this weird little circle as if we're summoning I don't know what, but that's okay. We're here, and that's all that matters.
That's why I think you brought up
Kumbaya.
the whole Boston playing New Hampshire at the beginning of the year. That's why I think, look, again, it feels like a lifetime ago, Boston and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But I think Vermont and New Hampshire is actually going to be the most interesting matchup out of all of these. They're the only teams who have faced each other, really faced each other this year.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that Vermont can kind of hold it over New Hampshire's heads where it's like, hey, remember how you won the regular season title and, we just kind of took that away from you? We just kind of stormed through the playoffs. You didn't do much. That's kind of.
Maybe they've used the time
And-
off to review all those games.
Well,
I'm sure both of them.
that's what's key
all
too.
of
And Mosso said that to me. He goes, when you play the Wolves or the Spartans, or the Avalanche so many times, they see your power play that many times. They know how you break things out.
Yeah.
You can watch film before this week, but you're going to have less than 60 minutes to make adjustments.
Yep.
And yes, we've touched on you could fall behind in this round robin and still get there, but at the same time, I think that everyone wants to end day one 1-0. And it's
With a regulation win. Let's
with a regulation win,
Yeah.
that's for sure. But that we've already said both games are going to go to overtime. I'm just trying to do some sort of reverse jinx here to figure out what we can get out of this thing.
Now all of a sudden we get like a 6-0 game in first one. Like, what?
Yeah, well, the overtime game will be Sunday night, and it'll last 6 overtimes, and then we won't be able to make it home in time, and that'll be the real big issue. And what's funny is, the last time I was here for a finals was the year before we made it the Frozen Finals, 2016-17 championship.
That's right, for the Philadelphia
Little Flyers versus Junior
Junior
Flyers.
Flyers.
A best of
Jerry's
five.
World.
Battle of the
A
Flyers.
best of 5 series.
That's right.
Wow.
Best
Three-
of 5.
three games?
Yeah.
3
Rocky
games?
Russo versus Jerry Domish.
3 games went to overtime,
Yep.
including one in the building that we're going to be in, and that game went to double overtime. The word overtime
Iceland
is
likes
just great.
overtime too. Right.
The word overtime is just great, right? I think it's just the sudden death factor of it, because to me, it's what makes this sport so special.
It is.
Like, I've said it before, basketball, you can see the clock counting down, and obviously there is the one moment. Football, it's the last play. Baseball, it's the last pitch. Like, hockey, it truly can happen at any given second. The double overtime goal that was scored in that 2016-17 season, I remember stupid stuff. Like, this stuff just sticks in your head.
Yep.
It was scored from the red line.
Oh my god.
It was a dump-in.
Yep.
And it was one of those where the puck goes up, hits just the weirdest edge, and kicks this
Flutters.
way.
Yep.
Look at the goal that the Railers P team scored in Game 1 against the Rangers.
It's a little
a
silly.
pass across the slot that hits the stick and goes in.
Yeah, we thought it was the head.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the noggin.
I saw another
noggin ball.
angle and I
It's a
went off
stick.
the stick. But
Yeah.
that's what makes it so special.
I can't believe that went in. Is that Vesatoskala and Nashville?
It's what's going to make this week so special. Every goal will be huge this week, and you're going to see it from the way that these players celebrate. And at this point, we're all working in the event, so we're not going to come on and give you a prediction.
Oh.
If any parents want to come, pull us aside and whisper in our ear and ask us who we really think is going to win, maybe one of us will let our guard down.
Yeah, if you bring me a cheesesteak.
and say who we think. But honestly,
Revolution.
honestly, at both levels, it could go to any of the 4 teams in the EHL, any of the 3 teams in the EHLP, that minus the Avalanche, there is a high probability that we get 2 brand new champions this season, and that's pretty damn cool. So I'm glad that we finally pulled this off.
Literally.
We won't
been a
bore you all with the
struggle, folks.
details, but Neil worked his butt off to get this episode recorded. I'll say that.
So we're gonna drop this one later on today, and obviously then have all day Wednesday to gear up for the first puck drop at 4:30. And
I feel like this might be we listen to this on the bus on the way later on the afternoon.
they're-
Enjoy the bus, my friends. See you
they're gonna be
soon.
enjoying the bus ride.
These kids
for
are
sure.
on this like a cheap suit in addition to the parents.
Because they what they want. They want our prediction.
True.
Because remember the brackets?
Sorry, guys, no fantasy this week.
The
either.
brackets?
That's,
Oh,
we didn't talk about.
Oh, should we talk about it? Are you mad?
Yeah, I'm emo.
Real quick, because we just have to give.
So basically,
We're doing it all
I
year
was in
long.
last place all season long for fantasy, made this sick comeback. I was absolutely wheeling. And then I lost to Neil. So I will be jumping off the roof of this hotel
Oh,
building, and that's the T.
5 points.
Do you have a trampoline somewhere just to keep
Get a little higher.
Oh no, I meant from the bottom.
Neil! Oh my god!
No, yes, because I'm that least concerned. I'm the least concerned for Brittany's safety, obviously. I just, let's get the higher jump. That sounds exciting.
Honestly, Chris, she bought enough sweatshirts. Probably that.
No, I didn't.
If you strung them all together, it would
I
be,
literally
like a
bought
parachute.
4.
It'd still be a
the
parachute.
rest of us brought like 1, maybe 2.
I let you I brought enough
Well,
leggings.
considering she talked about all the shampoo that fell out in her bag, so it would kind of be like a puddle, like she's falling into.
yes.
It would be a good saving point.
Yes.
Right?
But it came down to legit 5 points, and when
Came down to E and Schmidt.
Yeah, when I send out the fantasy standings for those that followed along all year long at home, it basically came down to the points that I got from my Lumberjacks players that advanced past the Wolves, the points that she did not get from the Wolves players. Yeah. Essentially, you take some of those points away from me, give them to her. As I mentioned, it was just a 5-point difference, but it's what makes it fun.
Congrats,
and
Neil.
Maso's smiling right now.
Oh, he's so happy
he's
right
got
now.
a grin on.
And you know what, Egan Schmidt, after a lot of games,
You better give him a nice present this weekend.
I mean, I want the present to be to me. I want an autograph.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I should have brought my Jacks jersey. Jacks
You have a
jersey.
Jacks
That's
jersey?
I have a Jacks
Just got
jersey.
one. He's starting his collection of the new house.
Yes, and all the teams are like telling me that my new ones are coming from them soon too. I can't have only the Jacks jersey.
Where's my
Come on.
T-shirt, Julian Maso?
I can't have just the
Uh-oh.
Jacks jersey. So there is no fantasy for us here at the finals. We're just here to.
Dude, imagine we picked a lineup based off of the people who were. Wait, can we do that for low key?
Let me
We
try.
are
All right,
Sorry,
sorry.
Rose.
All right, after we shut the mic off.
I'm
sorry,
sorry, are we
everybody,
going
sorry.
for a full Pete Rose type thing here?
We
except
are
Pete Rose.
professionals.
Now Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, but I just want to get that out. Go
Yes.
ahead.
But for those parents that are planning on coming down that still need to book a hotel, feel free to reach out to any one of us to get that link. For those that aren't coming down, obviously we're going to have all the games on Hockey TV. We're going to have all of the pregame shows and press conferences on YouTube Live. So you'll be able to find all that at easternhockeyleague.org. We're going to really blow this thing out of the water. We're going to crown 2 champions on Sunday, so let's have some fun.
All right,
do it.
see you guys soon.
Good luck, everybody. Good luck.
Thanks for listening to The E Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released. Welcome to The E Show with Neil Ravin. With over 1,000 NCAA commitments, the EHL is the proven path to college. Turn it up and learn more about the college placement leader at the Division II and III levels.
Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto: we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin. This is episode number 65 of the E Show, and let's bring in the E crew. Guys, are we all caught up on sleep?
Well, that's a loaded question, Neil. But
Right.
yes, feeling better than we did probably this time last week when we were all churning and burning around. What's today? Today is Saturday. Yeah. So
Yeah, it was P Day.
Yes. Recording this on Saturday, April 3rd, posting it on Sunday the 4th, which I know is also Easter, but a week removed from Championship Sunday. So I wanted to kind of get it out there about a week or so after everything went down. I'll tell you this, guys, and Vicky can attest to this. I was pretty grumpy the day after the championship. I think it was pulling in my driveway at about 2:45 a.m., which caused the grumpiness.
Well, thank you for dropping myself off first, and then Brittany Hart, Neil. You were
thank you.
savage driving through rain to get us all back on Championship Sunday, and we made
the storm was brutal, right? You guys experienced that too.
Oh, that was
I
not
stopped
fun.
somewhere
Well,
and waited a half hour.
So
When
we
you're-
apologize, Vicky. That's our fault.
when you're driving and you can see what you're driving into, it is the worst feeling in the world. Like, we saw it, and I was like, we're going right at that. And, like, it just slowed us down for the first 3 hours. Once we got through New York into Connecticut, it was basically clear sailing at that point. But the
Pretty
first
much right after we dropped Joe Britannia off at the airport, we saw the dark clouds, and we were like, "Are we traveling into those or are those?"
Yes. But I will say this, guys. We're about 2 minutes in or so far on this year's end of the season review. And it's already 6,000 times better than last season's end of the season review.
Oh, yeah.
We finished.
Thank the heavens.
Because we finished. So let's start making our way around the E show. We're going to break down last week in chronological order.
It's time for this week's segment of Around the E Show.
And Around the E Show is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
I will have to give Vicky credit one more time. It did take me almost 11 hours to get down there from when I left my door to when we got down there, because we did make a few different stops on the way down. But I will say this, I think going down on Monday was our best decision that we could have made because it gave us enough time to prep.
Yeah, we would have been, if it makes sense, we would have been more burnt out had we not gone down earlier, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
We got down there. We settled ourselves. We figured out our music jams of the week.
a lot of Hauke on SoundCloud. Been rocking some Hauke since I came back. Everyone check them out.
And then, of course, the teams arrived on Tuesday. And it was my favorite part about it is they were like so happy to see each other. Like in the hotel, like they were just so happy to see each other with the fist bumps and like big smiles. So great to see you. It's like in about 24 hours or 48 hours, you're all going to hate each other. I feel like you all like each other when the week is over. But when they first all arrived, they were like ecstatic about being there, which is awesome, right?
We all had drinks like a big happy family. Then each night, some guys just disappeared and didn't hang out anymore before it ended up being like just the staff, because we're all still friends and we're not fighting each other on the ice. But
and then we get to day one. We get to the first game, Lumberjacks Rangers, and of course, because of the year that it is, and as Kyle always says, expect the unexpected. The first shot of the tournament goes in.
Past the goaltender of the year,
who had just been named that hours before. We had recorded the show the night before, obviously posted it on that Wednesday. I mean, the first shot goes in.
Yeah, it wasn't looking so good for the.
It was like, what the heck?
The eventual champs on day one, Wednesday. We weren't sure if they were going to get to Championship Sunday. That we thought, oh, here comes the Cinderella surprise. Jim Mawson and the Vermont Lumberjacks.
What a crazy game!
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
Whistlegate, hashtag Whistlegate, but.
No, that game was not my favorite game, and that's the T.
I mean,
I don't know. What was it like because obviously I was up in the restaurant press box area, but even when he scored that goal, like you could tell, like it kind of was just like, oh snap, like it kind of shook everyone. What was the atmosphere like for you guys? I don't think I ever asked you guys.
I think it felt like the tournament finally started because that was almost, I mean, I got to pull it up right now. That was almost, I want to say, like 2.5 minutes in or almost 3 minutes in. Like it took a while for anyone to get a shot off. And obviously, whenever there's big games, there's that kind of feel you out moment in the beginning where teams are still getting to know each other, I guess you could say. And we know that the Lumberjacks and Rangers had not played this season. But yeah, that goal was 2 minutes and 13 seconds in. That was the first shot, Like no one got like a dump in on goal before that, or like just a wraparound goal. He touches it. Like that was the first chance that a goalie had it towards anything. And following that goal, I know Rich is going to jump all over this. Like the Rangers dominated most of that game.
I think it woke them up, you could say, Neil.
I think it must have, right?
Pissed them off a little bit.
And of course, I don't have the official number in front of me. I know the Lumberjacks 2 seasons ago now, you have to say 2 seasons because we finished this year. That last team had 20 age outs on it. So it was kind of a new group for this season. For the Rangers, there was more of a core that came back for this season.
And I'm not guys too. A lot of guys that like Bailey, Malandrukala that play with each other that weren't on the EHL team last year, but still were within the system, if you would.
And I wish we could have a mic there on the bench to hear if it was one of those guys that said after that goal, like, all right, like now are we ready? Like now can we start? Because after that, it felt like the ice went like this for the majority of that game, up until obviously we hit around the 7-minute mark, and then hell kind of froze over and things turned the other direction.
Good way to put it, Neil.
I mean, for the majority of that game, that the Rangers then after that goal was all them.
And I don't know if you remember, I remember looking over and seeing Rich he was kind of frozen at first, just kind of looked at the ice after the first goal by the Lumberjacks, was like, and then just kind of kept walking up and down the bench. Was like, all right, we got ourselves a week here. Let's go.
Yeah. And like when you get through these finals, like I've had people reach out to me and say, like, have you had a chance to look back at the numbers from this or the numbers from that? Like I didn't realize like until I had a chance to step back and see how many views the videos that Trevor Blackburn made, how many views they truly got. Like in the moment, there's so much going on that you can't like acknowledge what's taking place.
Right.
Joey Schaefer had a natural hat trick in that game.
He did.
Yeah, he
scored. It was natural, huh?
He scored 3 goals in a row. And like we didn't even notice that, Jeff.
I was like, hold on, speak for yourselves.
Natty Hattie.
I said Jeff.
Yeah, he's blaming me. My fault.
No, I'm saying me and Jeff.
I know.
The best part about it,
mentioned the hat trick a bunch of times, but I didn't realize it was a Natty Hattie. Did
you realize that 1 goal was shorthanded, 1 goal was even strength, and 1 goal was power play?
Wow.
Joey really said, "I am a king."
Like I didn't even notice that. Why? I mean, it was just like, oh, Rangers tie it up. Rangers take the lead. Rangers extend the lead.
How many hat tricks have there been in junior hockey where a guy's got a shorty, a power play, and an even strength in one game? That's what?
We're gonna get to Friday. We're gonna get to Friday.
Yuck. Good yuck.
We'll get to Friday in the 6-5 crazy 87s Lumberjacks game. You know, Paul Fine-Lees had a hat trick in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I called it.
I think we had 4 or 5 hat tricks over the week.
It felt like
a lot
that.
Of hat tricks.
It felt like that. And obviously there was a sequence in that game that took place that I've gone back and I've watched that also. I can't even identify what the noise is. Like it sounds like a whistle for sure. Mm-hmm. But everybody in the entire rink stops.
Yep.
Including us.
Us. We looked at each other and I was like, that was a whistle, right? Because everyone pulled up and then it was like, the referee's just like, nope, wasn't us. Like, go ahead. And Vermont was like, okay, we'll keep playing. Breakaway, thanks. See ya.
That pass up ice is almost as crazy as the pass that won the whole thing at the end of the week.
Oh, the stretch pass, the diagonal pass, the Nathan Miller pass.
Yes, but like,
it wasn't Nathan Miller who did it, but anyone that watched the Frozen Finals all week, that was he made a living all season long. That was just
wait till you hear what Rich said about that. We're gonna get to that one. Woo. But obviously the backhand pass goes up. I believe it was Guernon who collected it, scores the game tying goal. Even though at that point it tied the game, it felt like at that point the Lumberjacks were destined to win because everything that was going this way for the Rangers then went the other direction for the Lumberjacks, and they had all the momentum. And
Kyle was asking about the atmosphere earlier too, right, Neil? As far as that was our first real atmosphere of the season. Like when Louis Joseph Guernon scored that breakaway goal, that place lit up. It was
Yeah.
shaking, people banging on the
Typical
benches.
Vermont
like-
parents being typical Vermont parents.
Well,
And it was like that was the first time but I think it helped them. I think they felt the lift too. You could see Jimmy and Jack walking on the bench with their jacks, just sitting there. Forget everyone was like, yeah. We were all like, I was getting chills. Everyone was like,
well, that was the loudest I've heard a building in over a year, right?
Yeah,
it has
for
to be.
sure.
And we've already had a board of governors call since the finals ended, and
Oh yeah, it was the day after.
2 days after. Thank God.
Oh.
It wasn't Monday. Monday would have been. If I got home
Monday was like,
Monday
ooh.
a.m. at like almost 3 a.m. and then had to get on an 8 a.m. call, I would have needed the beanbag for that one.
Well, didn't you and Kumpel have to do it, Mr.
That was
Kumpel
yes.
did that years ago?
That
you
was
were talking about that.
2017. But
That wasn't
we
fun,
had
huh?
what on Tuesday morning, because I'm bringing this up because the owner of the Lumberjacks, Maurice Rosales, said he came down for the trip. Obviously, he was there all week. He basically one of his takeaways from the finals was that it was the first time he's felt normal in a while. Like in that building, like masks were on. You guys heard that censor. If you walked in without a mask on, the voice above you
Oh my
said,
god, she yelled at it. She's like, please wear a mask.
"Please wear a mask." Like so,
Like our
but
Apple CarPlay.
but in terms of the people in the building, like I agree with Maurice. Like it felt for the first time in forever like normal, and then off of that point, the reaction to that goal that made it 3-3 made it feel even more normal, right? And the finals are here, like they started. Obviously, the Lumberjacks make it 4-3 at an empty netter late, and yeah, I mean, we said it right then and there when we were wrapping up that game. The Revolution in 2017-18 lost their first game of the finals and still made it to the championship game. I have to give the Rangers all the credit in the world because I don't think the Revolution lost in the same way, where the Rangers felt like they deserved to win that game based off of the way that they played throughout.
How they deserve a lot of credit for that, Neil. That's a
oh
really
my
good
god,
point.
that's
a more than deflating loss. That's a
and
that
you have
can
to
knock
you have
out
to
of the
turn it
tournament.
around like that. You have to
Right.
Squad
get
was
that
down
like
bad.
that.
Yep.
And like you have to go to bed and you have to wake up the next day and think, whatever, that game is over. Now essentially
Now we're playing the regular season champions.
like
Yeah.
now essentially
Next
what it turned into for them were 3 elimination games. They had to
Pretty
beat the
much.
87s.
Yeah.
They had to beat the Avalanche, and then a championship game is a championship game. So it essentially turned into 3 elimination games in a row once they dropped game 1.
And Rich had said that to us at the award show. Nothing can be won on day one was his exact wording, but nothing can be lost on day one either. You can just put yourself in a really good standing, and they didn't put themselves in a good standing. And obviously they thought they were wronged. They had their gripes with the we won't get into the
Whistlegate
specifics, but yes, hashtag Whistlegate. Look it up on Twitter. It's trending.
Could you imagine?
So, well, I mean, obviously, like everyone's going to have their gripes when it comes to the playoffs, and that was a very strange 7 minutes, and there was a lot of things that went against their way. But hey, credit to them. They were a deep team. They were talented, but not only were they talented, they showed that they had skill on multiple levels. Right, the resiliency factor, like you just said, 3 elimination games, and you just go against the cream of the crop. Brittany said regular season champs, the reigning 2-time champions that are no longer. That's not the easiest schedule to go through, but Rich and the boys and Keith and Mike Sorabella, they deserve a lot of credit. They got quite the program up there in Tewksbury.
And that was the second matchup. That was the second matchup, 87s and Avalanche. And I know the Avalanche jumped out to a 3-0 lead, and that helps. But I think taking a step back and decompressing and looking at it more, I think the fact that the Avalanche scored first and scored so early had to help them feel like, all right, yes, we got here as some have called it, the charity team. That was one term I heard over the week, but they were the at-large. But I think by scoring that early, that quickly, I mean, they were 258 in. For that Lumberjacks, they were 213. Avalanche were 258. By scoring that early, that quickly, I feel like they then realized, okay, we can be here. We deserve to be here.
Yeah, they were like, oh, shoot, we just did that. And then I think after that, it was like the turning point in Jimmy's game when they did that whole whatever you want to call it. And then Chris's team was like, all right, word, get up. Our office was next to their locker room, and they come in the locker room after every period, guns blazing. Like, you would have, oh my God, those people are fired the heck up. They were ready to go. And they came in the locker room. They were like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I should say it.
They said words
what they were saying.
Hold
But they were
the
just like,
Exodus.
yeah, I was like, oh my God.
Or
Great songs they played in the locker room. Thank you for sending new songs to my playlist. But they were all like, you know, screaming like, who are insert here? And they are just being like,
well, they're playing
they're
their
fired
game for
up.
the E-show. I love that. Thank you, Avalanche.
Blew a few fuses also.
Oh my
Oh,
God,
did
you
that-
people on your hair dryers, piss
Thanks,
off.
boys.
Oh.
Gotta dry those skates. You know, just leave them wet. It's good. It's
Forgot
good
about
for you.
that.
They had so much going on in that locker room that every time I walked in, my computer was off because the power had been blown out of that whole entire wall.
I was like, Chris, Kyle, why are you guys hanging out in the dark? They're like, you know.
And
the
they
electricity?
scored.
I probably just sat there and didn't speak because I was.
And then they didn't score.
We got
Or they
goal
scored. They scored at the very end of that first period, also, right? Aaron's made it 2-0, and then they scored in the very beginning of the second period. And I think that's maybe when the 87s woke up a little bit and were like, all right, guys, like, yeah, we had a great season, but we can't come over to the finals and just lay an egg. Like, we're down 3-0 here. We kind of have to show up or go away now. Like,
But it took the
Gabriel-
Avalanche forever to be down in a game, Neil. I think it was.
Yeah, it
was until Championship Sunday when
it
they were
took
finally
until
down?
it took
No.
until Friday. They were
Friday.
never.
Until BJR game.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
It took until Friday. And for the
Unbelievable.
87s, they start mounting a comeback. And I know Jeff said it on that
Oh,
broadcast.
second period. That second friggin' period, man.
It was John Gabriel first.
Then
And
wasn't
then
it Matthew?
it was Kinsel second that made
Kinsel,
it
Yeah.
made it 3-2. So maybe that's what it takes sometimes to wake a team up is not having your primary scorers score. You get your secondary guys that score. I mean, the first 87's goal, we'll go back and watch it at some point. Gabriel just throws the puck towards the net.
Yeah, he was at like a
Just turns
90
into
degree
the
angle.
corner on the goal line.
Like
Yeah,
it
basically,
hits
exactly.
something, bounced over here, ends up in the top corner. Okay, goal. Like, I guess that's how we get on the board. And that whole game plays itself out. And I know Chris Russo said this, but the fourth goal kept being so critical, right? The fourth goal was the game winner in the Lumberjacks Rangers game. The fourth goal in the Avalanche 87s game came about a minute or 2 minutes and a half, 2.5 or a minute and a half after the 87s to just cut it down to 3-2. And the fourth goal in the Avs 87s was Matachenko, right? And then they made it 5-2. And then that woke up the 87s to start coming back again. And I know I'm going to say this when we get to Thursday as well, but for the 87s, they make it 5-4 with about 29 seconds left. I'm sure New Jersey felt like if they had 2 or 3 more minutes in that game, they come all the way back and tie things up at 5
Easily.
apiece.
I could almost guarantee they would, Neil. That second period horn came at the absolute worst time. They were all feeling it. They were buzzing. The chemistry was there. The big guys were starting to have good shifts. Like you said, it took a while for Kay Suda and Tim DeBoard and the Teramanis and Swains of the world. It took a while for them to really get going in that tournament, unfortunately. And I think that was their, that and timely goaltending. Obviously, the timely goaltending, the Kopak Connor revolving door. That really ended up being the backbreaker for them too.
Yeah. And that was day one, right? Like I know that the Lumberjacks won with an empty netter, right? But you know how I feel about empty netters. I just, whatever. They don't really count.
Good
So
there.
I look at it as 2 1-goal games on day one. So we're feeling pretty good going into day 2. What game did we start with day 2? We started with 87s and Rangers, right?
87s Rangers,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yes.
the boys who lost.
Then it was
at the
Avs
first game-
Lumberjacks at night.
Yes. So
God, the game.
we get to 87s Rangers now, day 2, and like the storyline all morning that we're saying to each other was this was the matchup that we thought would be 1-0 versus 1-0. All of a sudden it's 0-1 versus 0-1.
Yeah, it's play for your
Right, it's
weak
like
lives
win,
now.
win and you actually give yourself a chance. Don't win in big yikes.
That was crazy. Like a must win for both the last 2 regular season championship teams on day 2.
And we
What?
we said that because they were the 1 and 2 seeds going in, and
2020, 2021, man. Keep your head on
you
a swivel.
you compare it to
This
the
season.
Avs and Lumberjacks, and obviously the Lumberjacks were playing well going in, but the Avs weren't, and they were the 3 and the 4 seeds. That's what they were when they went in, and all
They
of a
enjoyed
sudden,
us calling them underdogs, and they used that.
Oh, they did.
You know
and then
what?
all of a sudden again, the 87s find themselves in the same 3-0 hole once again.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it was against the Rangers and not against the Avalanche, and they started making a similar comeback and probably the same thing. You add another 5 minutes or so towards the end, maybe they tie things up. I know they had a chance right before the Rangers empty netter. I think when Miller was hugging the post that he stopped, and then Bazzal got an empty net goal with like 3 seconds left, which almost became a factor. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh gosh, goal differential.
Goal differential. Say. What is that?
But I know it's another 5-3 game with an empty netter, but I call it another 1-goal game, really.
Yeah, it was.
And all of a sudden now you get to the nightcap on Thursday, and the number 1 seed in the tournament, the regular season champions, who I would have bleached my hair for if they had won, right?
Oh god.
They're 0-2.
Finally, Neil is like, thank gosh.
Well, I mean,
Sorry,
I
guys.
Vicky is saying, thank gosh.
I forget who it was, but someone said, "Are you gonna if you're gonna bleach your hair, are you gonna grow out the beard and do it the whole way around your face?"
Yes.
I was like, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do
I
that.
think that this bet should have applied to the P team.
I was thinking that too, Britt.
Wow.
Haha. So the 87 did in fact. Well, we'll get there.
You know what I'll do? I'll do a
Frosted tips.
I'll do a strip like some of them did.
Oh my god.
But I'll
Go take a trip down. Doesn't Rachel Julia?
Well, she was going to do it. She was going to do it on the day of opening day next season. But
head down to Jersey and just get.
I'll make the same bet with whatever team wins the regular season title next season. No idea who that will be. But we get to the nightcap.
Could be the Hosses. Who knows?
Could be.
Oh my god.
We get to the nightcap, and honestly, you forget it because you look at the final score and you see 9-3, right? But it wasn't until the third period when that happened. Or I should say late second period when it really started to pull itself away. Because the Lumberjacks came back to make it 4-2 with about 3 minutes or so left in the second period.
Yep.
And we said to each other, you and I, Jeff, we're buckle up. Here we go. Typical Lumberjacks. I think
love being down.
I think we asked Mosso that on the show. You guys can fall behind 3-0 the Seacoast, but come back and win the game. Right? This is where they want to be. Now, it plays itself out that the Avalanche make it 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, and a run away with it. But what an anomaly. Right? Because they played 11 times during the regular season. How many of those went to overtime? How many times did the Lumberjacks win down the stretch? That game.
I'm pretty sure at the end of the regular season, it was 6-5 Avalanche.
Yes.
Yeah,
because Maurice said that to me at one point.
You are correct. As the color man, I looked that up, and that is correct.
And so then the Lumberjacks going into that game are if we win this, it's 6-6. The Lumberjacks were 1-0 in the round robin going into that game.
I know.
And they were 1-0.
And speaking of that season series, the Lumberjacks took the last, I think, 3 straight, and the Avalanche had won the beginning of the series of the year, which was way many, many moons ago. So the fresher thing in both teams' minds was the Lumberjacks winning a few straight against them on both sides.
I mean, I don't know. I just wasn't shocked by the Avalanche's performance.
Kyle, you're the only one.
Okay, yes, team. It's a whole new animal. The regular season's borderline.
You weren't shocked. Okay, I get that. But you could not have predicted they won by 6 goals.
Oh,
I thought that if anybody was going to win by 6 goals, it was not going to be the NHA. That's for sure. No offense. But
nah, it was obviously shocking.
Kyle's got
right?
the crystal ball.
A high-scoring game.
We got to get to that crystal ball. As we keep working our way through the week. Wait till you hear the last crystal ball.
Oh yeah.
But then of course the night ends,
and the Avalanche.
What?
You go.
Before we finish Thursday.
I'm just saying, the Avalanche are just a good team. they got a lead, and that was kind of it. I think that was their key to success.
I think they were better than we
So,
thought. I don't know. I think
I
they
think
showed
it's
up.
the whole you finally play somewhat. Well, that game was the North, but the first game you come out guns blazing and you're like, oh shoot.
They
What's
didn't
up?
have like that MVP kind of guy that we talked about all the time on the podcast, but like they had the depth scoring, and I think McMichael was one of the best players in the
Oh, he
tournament.
was unbelievable.
He turned out to
He
be.
turned he
Yeah.
turned back on to the Georgie McMichael that we saw all season. That was just lights out.
So they win those games, right, on Wednesday and Thursday, the 24th and 25th of March. I don't know if you guys heard me say this, but do you know when their most recent win before that was?
It was February 18th.
Yeah, it was like 2 months ago.
Over a month before.
Yeah.
Like, they had gone a month of time. Obviously, you didn't play a lot of games, but how do you go a month of time without winning a hockey game to all of a sudden now you've won 2 in a row? And you guys remember Thursday night? Thursday night became, let's ask Neil what the goal differential is. Like, I think Rich asked me about 5 or 6 different scenarios. And like,
oh my god, my phone was blowing up. Like,
Couple
so
of-
what do we need to do? What is blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, dude, I am just as clueless as you. Math
Couple of
is
league
not
meetings.
my forte. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there
the
was that one
87s
broadcast we signed off and we said, we're going to go get some paper and some pens and pencils, start drawing some equations on the board.
So, I mean, what made it interesting was that the tiebreaker for goal differential, if it got to that, for everyone to know at home, it only factored in the games with the teams that you were tied. So while we had a 6-goal margin in there, there was a chance that game wouldn't be a factor.
Right.
And then you look at the other games, and it was 2 goals, and 1 goal. Well, when it's that close, you kind of have to really go in depth about we may have to win this game by a 2-goal margin. And that's what the 87 said to themselves going into Friday, because even though you went to bed Thursday night thinking we're 0-2, New Jersey knew that if they beat the Lumberjacks by 2 goals and then got some help, they still had a chance. And that was the first game on Friday, 87s versus Lumberjacks. And
that was a battle and a half.
take the championship game out of it, right? And you're looking at just the 6 round robin games.
That might have been one of the best.
That's the best game.
Yeah.
Like the back
and forth.
And like looking, we're going to release the top plays after we do the podcast on Sunday. Like, there's 2 goals from that game. I think there's 3 goals. 3 of the 10 top plays of the Frozen Finals come from that game. Like, you go back and you watch the first goal and the pass that Belinsky makes to Van Ness. He's not even looking where he's throwing the pass.
Trevor got a great shot of that.
You saw that, right? Behind the backhand pass that all of a sudden just goes to the slot and it ends up right on his stick. That's the first goal of the game.
Vandy's goal was gross.
Good yuck.
Yeah,
Good yuck.
incredible.
The best part about it, Brittany, is you were walking around to get for your interview, and you see him score on the hockey TV feed, and all of a sudden your speed cranks up because you want to get over there a little bit faster now and get ready.
Right, I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, all right, we gotta power over there. Let's go.
It hits you.
Run
You're
across.
like, goal.
At one point, like the way that I needed to get over to the benches of folks at home, like I could go through the locker rooms, and the locker rooms was Avalanche, Rangers in a connecting room, and then 87s are down on their own planet. At one point, I don't remember what game, I was running through the locker room and like the door locks behind you. AKA you can't come back in unless you knock. And I thought it was just the Avalanche kids in there. And I was like, oh my God, yay. They are not playing until the next game. And then I'm running through the BJR locker room in the middle of in between periods. And I'm like,
hello.
Oh my God. Thank
Pretty
God
hot
Rich
here.
wasn't in there. He would have yelled at me. But I was like, oh, sorry. I gotta go. Please don't look at me. I'm just gonna bolt through here. And it was, yeah.
There were a lot of codes and a lot of keys.
Lots.
It's kind of a fortress down at Iceline. Kind of a fortress.
Great venue though. Honestly,
It's awesome.
Jim Binns, thank you for having us, the GM of Iceline. He was great. The staff was great. The arena was accommodating. It was awesome.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it was
So to that game though, because then the 87s went up 2-0. I think the Lumberjacks came back and tied it up. Like I think I have it as the third play, like that give and go play that Schmidt had with Fine Lease, like was just disgusting. Like that was worthy of being the top play of the week. And the whole thing plays itself out, and I said it on my call, of all guys to score the game winner for the 87s, it's
Oh my
Santoriello.
God, it was Santo.
Santoriello. He was
Dude,
a
I
late
was like-
insertion.
I was
Yeah.
near tears, like just tears of I am proud of my little prodigy. Like I was almost crying, like straight up, no lie. I was like, this is how. Keep in mind, he did not play in the first 2 games. Adam plays him in the last round robin game. That's how he ends his junior career. Scores a game winner for 7th. Granted, they did not make it to the final, but even though that was the saddest victory I've ever seen in my life, still, what a way.
And we still didn't have any teams go over, which is always we
That
ended up
was-
having
that
at
was
least
the best
one
part.
team go over. It was
Every team won a game, and that was the first time in Frozen Finals history that we had that, right? But like, I should go back for a second because the 87s made it a 5-3 game, and they knew they had to win by 2 to give themselves a chance, but 3.
Wasn't it 3? I'm really sure it was 3.
2 would have made it a tie. It would have pushed us to an even deeper tiebreaker, but 3 would have avoided a deeper tiebreaker. There was a save made in that game by Aiden LaValle with an empty net. Remember that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then the
Oh
Lumberjacks
yes,
come
I was
down.
like in the valley, the audacity.
Yes, and there was
And
they made
Doran
it
did
5.
it the day before. like, a
Yep, they
couple
made
of
it
times.
5-4 and then 5-5. And then another moment that you forget about is there was a point where Masso and Hooley had gotten probably as close as you can get to the end of the bench. And we couldn't tell what Jimmy was saying to Adam, but Adam kind of did one of those like, I don't know, Jim. I don't know. Jim
Didn't
had
they both want to pull the goalies?
Masso said, let's both do it because
I said that to Justin. I was like, can you imagine? But I was like, there's no way.
like
Oh,
I thought we were going to have a double goalie pull for a second there because while the 87s had to win by 2 or 3 to give themselves a chance, the Lumberjacks are 1-1 and they win that game and they're in a better spot than the 87s are in terms of a potential tiebreaker with the Rangers, right?
Yep.
Because if it had been just the Lumberjacks and Rangers tied, they go because they beat them on day 1. We almost saw a double goalie pull, which that was already the best game of the week of the round robin. If that moment had happened, cancel the rest of the week. That I would have been done.
We would have been on SportsCenter top 10 plays with John Butchergross. He'd have been like, check this out, guys. Junior hockey in the EHL, 2 goalies pulled, 2 empty nets.
And you know what would have happened, right?
Electric.
They would have pulled both goalies and no one would have scored.
Oh, of course. There would have been everyone just diving all over the place. Long bodying all over the place, Neil. That's one of our
I forgot about that.
Long body.
We learned a new term down there because
We did.
I just
excited.
never knew what you called it when the defenseman stretched out on the ice to block a pass. And according to Rich, it's nowhere on the internet, but he calls it the long body. When you extend your body and
We'll
make it
start
as
using that next
as
season.
long as you can to block the pass. So that game ends, and all of a sudden now we're in the last game, and the 87s have become enormous Avalanche fans, right? Or they wanted to become enormous Avalanche fans. If they had scored one more goal, that's when that tiebreaker would have taken place. The
Yeah, Adam and Maddie
Lumberjacks
said that. They said, let's go Avs, and they both hung around and
Yes.
watched that game.
and the Lumberjacks were the ones that wanted the Avs to win, also because that would have
Yep.
created that potential tie for them that they could have pushed their way past the Rangers. But like we said before, the Rangers knew they had to win. I believe Andy Moore had both goals in that game. The first goal was a
Yeah.
gross snipe.
That
And
game is gross.
that was the game on
Good
the Avalanche played Ronan Mobley.
Yeah.
And
He was
going it
unbelievable,
He
too.
made some great saves. Like that kid is good. That kid is very good.
top
I think
play
Like,
Chris
number
said he earned
it's not like Chris was like, oh, let's go to our second string goalie who sucks. Like,
Well-
no. You have as much confidence in him as you do in George.
Yeah,
He
the
made
Avs
a
are just a
diving
good team.
save.
Like
That's
the
top
Avalanche
play.
are a good team. They could play whoever they wanted to, and they're still just going to be in it.
Yeah, they were deep too, just like Boston was. I think Chris Sorrell said with that performance, Mobley's coming back next year.
Yeah.
He said that to us.
And-
He goes, he just played himself onto the team next year. That was unbelievable.
It's like a tryout, right?
We're literally. George
But-
is gone. He's going to Bowdoin, and you need another goalie. Maybe it's Mobley's net next year. Maybe
Yeah.
you bring someone else in for some competition, but have one familiar face back there is going to be big for them to start off.
Oh my
And-
God, Higgy just got named captain. I'm so
Oh,
fired
saw
up.
that.
with that.
Oh, wow.
Get up, Higgy!
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So
Aaron's to Higgins.
there is one of his saves as a top play. You all know which save that was, where I don't even know how he still
Filthy.
stopped. I think it was Young on the side of the goal. And I think Mobley is a good goalie too. But what was astounding about his stats going into that game, the final game of the round robin, on that team, he had a record of 8-8.
I know. I noticed that too.
And it just didn't make sense. And that game plays itself out. And
they just didn't score when he played in the net.
yeah, and the Avalanche almost win that game, right? They almost spoiled the Rangers' season. They almost won that game. And you take
a bunch of guys up. They not only did they have McMichael out, they had Aaron's out.
Yep.
They had McGinn out. They had who else was it? They had like 3 or 4 main guys.
Clifford didn't play either, I don't think.
Yep.
But they put Fotheringham in. Alcorn went in. Alcorn was really good. Fotheringham had the goal.
We said it.
Yeah,
It was
I was gonna say one of them got a goal.
Yeah.
That was us debating back and forth. These guys are fighting to be in the lineup on Sunday, right?
Yeah, because Malco and Sondag were the last like 2 forwards, kind of the 11th and 12th forwards.
We knew once the 87s game ended with the score that it was, that the Avalanche were in. And we didn't know how they would respond to that. I think in that moment, seeing them play it out as hard as they did shows that they realized, like, we can't just roll over in this game because we can't then flip the switch back on Sunday. Right. So they played hard enough to win in that game. And for 3 round robin days, and you take away the 9-3 score, and you take away my empty netters, as I like to say, right? 5 of the 6 games were 1-goal contests.
High scoring affairs too.
Like,
but goalies still had good performances. We had to keep explaining that to people. Like, don't just look at a box score and see that this team won 5-4 or 6-5 and say that this goalie sucked. He didn't. He had 41 saves, and a lot of them were, of the high end diving across the paint variety. It's possible, and it was shown there by all the goalies. Raduzzi played his butt off.
He did. That kid deserves a lot of credit. He does.
Yeah, he did.
He made some saves that probably deserved to be in the top 10 plays.
Yeah.
But there were just so many highlight reel goals scored that I didn't have the chance to put everything in, right? Typically, our top plays are 5 plays. Like 5. There was enough there to fill up 15 10. Or 20.
Oh, yeah.
But I landed on 10 because 10 is kind of the generic good number, right?
Yeah.
I think the best thing about this year's finals compared to the previous 2 years is we gave those EHL teams a day off on Saturday, right? Yeah. And it just helped.
Get out, P teams. Here we go.
That was needed.
It helped build the hype because, of course, in a year where on this podcast we talked about the Rangers and Avs so much early on, because going into the season they were still the 2 top dogs, right? But then you saw the 87s and the Lumberjacks and the Express emerge and start to push the top a little bit. And then we get our way through the round robin. And of course, who does it come down to? The Rangers and the Avs again. So let's build the hype up. Let's build the hype up over Saturday, which became P Day. And we didn't know what to expect going into that. The 87s win game 1, 3-0. And the Railers went up 3-0 like instantly in game 2, if you remember. That's when the Lumberjacks started to fight their way back.
Do their lumberjack thing.
Yes, and the best interview of the entire weekend.
Oh my God, Jimmy's Jimmy.
I think
he's gonna love this one.
I think what made him so nervous was that's when we started doing the interviews closer to where Jeff and I were standing.
The 22
right,
EHL players.
Right in front of the box.
So right in front of the box, like the entire EHL team is around this kid with their phones out.
Every single one of them.
I would get nervous too if I'm 17. I don't even know how old
I was
is.
nervous and I wasn't even the one answering the damn questions.
Me and Neil were dying
Because
laughing.
I'm like trying to figure out who I'm doing the interview with. Then all of a sudden, it's like Paul Feinlease, Cam Isabel, and whoever knows who else, and Monday and Infantino just come storming at me, and they're like, Britt. And I'm like, yes, how can I help you right now? Like, what do you want? And they're like, you have to interview this kid. Like, you literally have to do it. Like, please, for the love of God, just do it. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. I don't care. I'm
so innocent.
Go get him. Get the kid. Tell him it's his time to shine. And then they were all fired up. It was the funniest thing of my life. They were.
It was a good goal by him too, and he was an insertion because in the first game, unfortunately, they lost the EHLP forward of the year, Sawyer Worsing, to a knee injury. They lost a bunch of guys in that first game, so the second game they had to put a bunch of guys in, and they battled. You know, they fought, and Freeman was one of them. We're glad he got his first.
He's a 2003.
Whoa,
he's a child.
He's 17 years old. That was his first point of the year, right?
It's baby Reba.
Like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
So
Carlos Reyes Reba, we miss you.
So I get it. I get the nerves.
17.
Obviously, the Lumberjacks fight back to make it 3-2. Then the Railers pull away, make it 6-2. To give everyone at home an idea of what took place after that, this was the biggest format the EHLP was ever going to have for the finals. The previous two finals years that we were able to complete included just an EHLP championship game. So the two conferences played things down so that one team went from each conference. So year one, it was Junior Flyers versus Rangers. And then year two, it was Little Flyers versus Wolves. So this season,
Jack Johansson was on that Wolves P team. I remember.
Yep.
What a heck of a game.
And this season was going to be the biggest format ever. And the day plays itself out now that we already had an extra hour booked in between the first two games and the second two games, 1 hour each for each EHL team to practice. And then
they wound up practicing together.
That's a whole different conversation, different podcast.
Shooting on each other's backup goalies. I was like, what?
Yeah,
you know what?
So funny.
That shows you how much they respect each other, honestly. So then we end the second game. We know we already have at least an hour and a half because there's no team practicing, and the two games had taken place so quickly that there's a break there. We bring both of the 87s and Railers in to now basically...
Because at this point, the third game, for people who are like, what the heck are you talking about? The third game would have been 87s Worcester, and we know that 87s Worcester was going to be the championship game. So we're like, why on planet Earth are we going to play this game at 7 p.m. when both teams have already played one game?
You know what time
have to be back.
Yes. You know what time it was? You know what time it was when we had that meeting?
Like
it was
4?
almost 5:15.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, we would have had to sit there for almost 2 more hours.
Yeah, Neil, remember we were having dinner? We were literally finished our dinner. We'd be like, we're like 5. We would have been 5 minutes away from puck drop right now.
And you know that game would have like gone to overtime too. Like, you know, I kept saying, I used the word overtime so much all week because I wanted overtime for some reason. I just needed overtime.
And we got it.
I obviously give both teams credit, right? They recognized that they were the championship matchup. They realized what's the point of fighting for last change, right? The Railers said to the 87s, you had a better record in the Railers season. You deserve last change tomorrow.
Yep.
They were going to have last change in that round robin game. Anyways, no reason to play out a 60-minute game for one factor towards the championship game. So that sets the table now for Sunday. And we get to that game first. And that was a great EHLP championship game. I know it wasn't a 1-goal game, but it was at one point the Railers fought their way back, made it. I want to say
penalty shot.
Yes, I want to say the Railers made it a 3-2 game.
Yeah,
and I think the penalty shot, Kyle, could have tied things up.
It was 4-2,
or maybe it was 4-2, so it would have given them an extra spark down the stretch.
Yeah, because actually, remember when Cole Moore took the puck and he threw it up in the air and he smashed it away like he was like, "Yeah, I'm the king."
Well, you know, and I have to admit this to you guys. I felt bad cutting you out of the MVP stuff this year, but obviously there was just so many moving parts that I kind of left it up to Justin and I. And
right, and because it's like you don't have all day to make the decision. It's like, okay, make the decision. All right, 5 minutes later, signs up. Here we go. Go see Joe and take your picture with your plaque.
Yes,
and what fun it would have been to go back and forth,
participate in the MVP thing. I thought it was the right decision to just have you and.
Thank you. Well, and Kyle, in Providence, my PA guy is Jeff, and Jeff is here. I can touch him. He's next to me. So I could work it all out, tell him what I want him to say, and then he could see me and know that I'm still walking around the ice and don't start yet. Yeah. But in that moment and the fortress that is Iceland a little bit, you can't really unless you're going to hurdle in a suit, you have to go out this door and then in through this door to get to where you want to get to.
It was enough doing it for starting line.
Oh my God.
Fun, but I was like a fire drill every day. I was like,
Didn't feel like ripping my suit on Championship Sunday in the first game, right? Happened in a showcase once. Different story for different podcasts. Brittany will know that. That was a Newington showcase where my pants
Oh
ripped.
my God, I forgot about that.
So, the third period's playing itself out, and I know that Justin's watching at home on a delay. And in my mind, I'm thinking Moore is the MVP still, unless they give up, another goal or so. Then there were a few scores. I know McGuigan had a bunch of points. Sikowski had a bunch of points. There was somebody else in there as well. DeMarinis had a bunch of points.
Yep.
And I know Justin's delayed. And I call the penalty shot save. And I'm like, all right, it's Moore. I'll let him say it, though, once he gets caught up on hockey TV. And he said something to me in text. He goes, I know exactly what you're thinking. I'm already preparing the graphic. I was like, okay, sweet. Thanks, man. So it worked itself out great. And honestly, just like I had a little bit of deja vu with the Wolves from 2018-19. The celebration takes place and the Wolves coaching staff said the same exact thing to me that Adam and the 87s coaching staff did and said, we've been out here for about 20 minutes. Do you need us to get off the ice now so we can get ready for the EHL game? And I think that's respect towards the other teams to let them get things started. And obviously the celebration carried over into the locker room and give them credit for that team. I think I said it on my call. Their first year in the league was 2017-18 at just the EHLP level, and pretty fitting in a way that they win their first title at the EHLP level.
Yep.
Yeah, and then credit to
Well
Worcester.
done.
You're a second-year team, and you make it to the finals, and
Right.
it's not like you got absolutely pummeled. Like they showed up, they did what they needed to do, and they played well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was just good hockey all the way around in that game. I really enjoyed
Mike
watching those
Mike
teams-
Adessa said
teams
he was
play.
so happy for that team, and like their whole program should be happy for that team. Like wow.
The
Get
best part about Mike, right? He goes, you notice which post-game press conferences have the most views? I go, I don't, but I'm sure they're yours. He goes, that's because my entire phone book, I texted the link to them. They all watched. I was like, oh my God.
Excellent.
Because he was like, I didn't expect to get interviewed down here and stuff. And it was a cool new thing that we added, right? And I know parts of it that I want to make better, right? I didn't even think about buying a light from Home Depot until we got down there.
Oh my God, we're like, this was a little dark with no windows.
We had a little dark right across from the Sheraton. It was perfect.
Yes, but now I know things that I want to do differently to improve those in the future, right? The first day or one of the days, we had David Raduzzi come in with literally all of his pads on. Like, let's let the goalie take
Sitting
his
on the
stuff
couch
up.
like this. He was like barely moving. Like, hey guys, like, oh, sorry, dude. A little rough there, not too mobile.
So of course that sets the table for the EHL championship game, and I said that the round robin 87th Lumberjacks game was the best game of the round robin. Okay, the championship game was obviously the best game of the week.
Oh my God, my anxiety level was through the damn roof.
I think my stress levels came down for like 2 days after that. I felt like I either had a kid on the team, I had played on the team, I was coaching on one of those teams. Like that was
you were an owner.
I was an owner, exactly, Kyle. Like I felt like we all had so much invested in this year because of what we went through that like we all felt the same way. I looked at you, Neil, in the box, and we were just both in like this telepathic like zone with our eyes, and it was just it was such a cool feeling.
If the Avalanche hang on and win that game, you have 3 titles in 3 years, right?
Oh man,
no one can touch that.
No one could fit Chris through that door.
but it's not even like I agree, obviously, but like
we love you, Chris. Just kidding.
Yes, but like
good fun.
The point is like how could anyone ever top that? That's so
a Patriots
hard.
Like run. That's
and
in hockey too. Well, we always talk about hockey is the hardest sport to repeat in. Especially round robin.
And you can see now that, maybe going into the next season, my preseason power rankings are going to have Rangers 1, Avalanche 2. Of course,
see by next level power rankings.
Yes, but the teams below them are catching up. Like the 87s are right there. I love their hashtag already for next season. Our time.
Oh,
maybe it
time.
is.
They already made it.
Sorry. Go look at their most recent post. Like it's
Melissa Morrison,
big
what
and
up?
bold.
Yeah, I listed that.
But them, the Lumberjacks, the Express, we've seen the Wizards in the finals. The other teams, like they want a piece of this. They've experienced the finals. They know what it's all about, and obviously that game plays itself out. And the Rangers make it 2-1, then they make it 2-2. Their power play was
Crazy.
lethal, right? Like when teams were on the power play late in the week, it got deathly quiet in that building.
Sure did.
Like it got like scary quiet in that
You're
building.
just watching the men work. It was like tick, tick, tick.
And I felt like at times, like, because I'm loud when I broadcast, I think my mic was louder or it's quieter than yours. I think it had to be. I was like, can the entire building hear what I'm saying right now? Because it's so quiet in here. They probably can.
They were listening for sure.
But
you could see people staring at us as we were talking, like, as they usually do.
Vicky says you are loud. Thank you.
Vicky, we love you. We love you, Miss.
But it's that power play. Honestly, the game tying goal, Moore did the same thing on 3 other occasions where he would collect the puck, go through the option of shoot or pass.
How do these people not know that Andy Moore is getting the puck on the power? I think Andy and Chance are both on power play 1 and 2. I know Andy, I think Andy is, or at one point they were on both.
He does not get tired either. He did that 3-zone carry up and then circled all the way around the zone. It was just like,
and he finds Bazal on that feed, right? And that picture that the Hicklings got, they got so many good pictures. That one picture is the week, right?
Yep.
Because
see McMichael diving, the puck was just like,
and I'm going to compare us back to 2016-17 again, because that was the final year before the Frozen Finals, and we were in Philly, right? And in that series, on 2 occasions in games where the Little Flyers could have won the series, they were up by 2 goals with 7 minutes left to go, Game 4 and Game 5. And obviously they lost the lead in Game 4 and then lost in double overtime. And then Game 5, they lost that lead. And when they went into the locker room, you felt like there was no way they were going to come out and win that game. And in overtime of this game, the Avalanche could have got a bounce or something. They could have won that game. But in the building, you felt like this was the Rangers game because they had fought their way back. They didn't fight their way back for nothing, right? Like they didn't make it 2-2 just to lose off a bounce in overtime. Like they fought their way back to win it. And you said this earlier, Jeff, Kyle with the crystal ball. I didn't notice Twitter live because there was so much going on, Kyle, but you legit called the overtime winner.
You know what? I think I was big on 17 Malandrukala all week. And I remember speaking to Rich on Tuesday. He just felt like, he was kind of like the next guy on the depth chart that, I know we have Andy Moore and the Bazals of the world, but then in, a championship game is just going to me, it just seems natural. Like Malandrukala is in the mix and he's probably going to be the guy who's going to hammer one home, as I might have broken out.
The crystal ball
in the press box.
Home that can't see. Ooh.
So
Did you?
Mr. 100 points in the P, Johnny Mao.
Such an exciting finish. And I don't know. Did you guys pick over OT winner?
No, you were the only one that
said
said
time to breathe.
Did you guys see his tweet? So he set it up like the Bucci overtime challenge tweet.
Yeah, I did.
And he wrote Matachenko / Malandrukala.
Right. Did you pick one from each team? And...
Of course, Justin responds and goes, "You almost hit your character limit with that one tweet because of how long the 2 last names were."
Good old Johnny Alphabet. That's why we call him Mr.
Johnny Alphabet.
Every letter in the alphabet is in his name, and his dad.
Matachenko's name is not much shorter than Malandrukala.
That's true.
And like honestly,
part of the alphabet.
Honestly, there's been a lot that's come out of that play, but I just think that the dump in and it's Tommy Carr that makes the pass up. If it's not Tommy Carr that makes the pass up, I bet you Miller goes into the corner and does it himself. Yeah. Because you have the long change in overtime.
And he is filthy at passing that puck.
Well,
or is this on the year, you said?
Yes, and the Rangers they like to do that. They like to stretch the play. And I'm sure there was some messages that said, if you have a chance and you're not, because there were Rangers that were getting changed out in that same play. When you look at the overhead, when you look at that overhead, Malandrukula was already out there and he stayed out there. And I'm sure some message was, if you're out there and you have a chance during one of these changes and you're going to stay on, stretch it wide and be as far away from the bench as you can. And that's what he did. He was by himself and you could feel it in the building. Everyone saw
you
where
knew
he
once
was.
he caught the pass, it's like, all right, here we go, game over, peace.
Brittany, are you sure? You seemed a little nervous.
But did we?
I was pacing. I was literally pacing.
I was getting ready to send you my will because I was like, this girl's gonna kill me at some point.
But what I mean by
did we know it was over though? The way McMichael was playing, he could have made that save.
I don't think we knew it was over. I think that the way that everyone stood up and saw where Johnny was, they knew that a moment was coming, right? So everyone was like, make the pass. Like, it felt like it took a year and a half for that pass to get all the way up. It wasn't a year and a half. Like, it was a great pass from Tommy, but everyone in the building stands up and it's a great shot that goes to the 5-hole. And it hits you all at once. Like, holy hell, the season's over.
And the other cool little thing about that too, Neil, we talked about Santoriello with the game-winning goal for the 87s in his last game. Tommy Carr was the extra skater all week. He was one body away. I know Coach DiCaprio was thinking about putting Tomas Mueller/Miller in as the extra skater. He had talked about he was someone that he liked. But look at that. Carr stays out there all week. Rich didn't make any changes to his lineup, not one.
Yeah.
Gets the pass to Malandrukula. Malandrukula had that shoulder injury all year. He only had, I think it was 25 points in 24 games. Rich said he easily would have been a
only
20 to 30 goal scorer.
Only.
I know. But he was someone we predicted would probably lead the league in scoring this year. And if he didn't have that month or longer absence, he probably would have potted 25, 30 goals easily.
Yeah. And
I think the Rangers could have lost fewer games. There would have been another name we could have all had on the.
Maybe they win the regular season title and the playoff championship because of that. You never know, right? It all played itself out in the perfect way. In the perfect way.
Oh, their depth too. Like, you just can't literally. And think about that fourth line too. They don't get enough credit. Schlifke, Karjas, Hedeprem.
Oh, speaking of Mary and Tom, my favorite people.
Mary and Tom was great to meet you guys. A perfect Midwestern family. Very nice. Very, very, very. I knew him the minute I met him. I was like, are you guys from Canada or the Midwest? Because you are huge hockey family. Huge. The accents were.
Oh my God. I literally adore them to pieces. I love them. And they are coming, as far as I know, back in. We're back. We're back.
That's a big addition.
Go.
Yeah, back.
And you look at all the families that we met, right? From Minnesota, Michigan, Missouri, Alaska.
Yeah, like, Ryan Bailey's grandparents.
Like it was a special week.
At the Rod when the Rangers weren't there.
And either team could have won that game. And I think we said it at some point on the air. You played 10 times, it probably would have gone every other. But when you take a step back, and I'm obviously always big about the overall brand of the league, to have a player climb the ladder from EHLP to EHL to college hockey and have that kid score the game winner, for me, that is it. You cannot, like, that is what you want to show.
Video, Neil.
That's what you want to tell everyone, is that you could come in and you could be in the EHLP and you can win the MVP,
an award,
and then you could go to the EHL and you could commit before you're even an age out. He's a 2001, right?
I don't think so.
He's an 01, so he could actually come back next season if he wanted to, but he's going to college instead to Fredonia next season, and like, that is it. Like, if anyone was going to score that goal, I mean, it could have been cool for other guys too, right? Like guys that have been there 2 years or 3 years, whatever. But the overall look that it gives for a kid like that to come in and score the game-winning goal in the championship, it's like, that is it. That's icing on the cake. That just shows you that I can go to the CCM showcase in Denver this offseason and say, yeah, that team wants to start you at EHLP. Okay, this is what this kid did.
In a year or two, you could be in the championship game scoring the game-winning goal.
And then go to college before you even age out, right? So that's playing less years of juniors than maybe your parents want you to, right? Maybe the parents say, we're going to give you 2 years of a chance. And if it gets to the third year, you're just going to go to college anyways. But that's what I'm going to go sell, is that you could be Johnny Malandrukula. And of course, if he hears this, he'll say, no, you can't. Like, not everyone can score the way that I can score, possibly. But not
everyone's got that left-handed sauce, Johnny.
It was a special goal, and obviously a ton of respect from Chris and Rich to each other afterwards.
A lot.
A pretty cool press conference. A long car ride home for us, but for the first 3.5, 4 hours, I think that the adrenaline was still pumping for a while.
Oh, we were buzzing.
We were.
I was buzzing.
It was fun.
And then
We were
I
buzzing until
proceeded
Brittany
to
got on
lay
my-
down in the back seat, and I was like, "Hey, good night." And then we stopped and we got Chipotle at the rest stop, and I was still buzzing at that point.
Darien, Connecticut, what up? Thank you.
So-
Darien.
And then it was time to lay down in the back
And then
seat.
Brittany went out like a light by the time we were at my house. She was gone. So.
But
Yeah, it was
obviously a special week. Crazy that I'm already talking to Providence about the details
my
for
God.
next year. I already have a call with the hotel in Warwick where we've stayed for next season.
God, making a triumphant return.
I
back
already-
to the
Wait,
Crown Plaza.
baby. What up? Right
I
there.
already have calls set up with 3 of our vendors that were sponsors this season. Which, when you take a step back and you bring it all in and you think about it, we've made an event out of the finals, and that's what they want to be a part of, whether you're in the league or you're just assisting the league in a way. And the Penalty Box Foundation, the sponsor of this podcast all season long, we already have a call set up with them to re-up for next season and see how big we can make this, because his logo was everywhere in the championship celebration,
yeah.
because it was
Drew
on
Lane.
the jerseys, on the neck gaiters, everywhere. So just a crazy,
Drew's awesome.
awesome
Drew,
guy.
Drew Lane is an awesome dude. Definitely
So-
look his story up.
A crazy week, a fun week, and then when you add that game in, right, another game decided by a single goal, and the only game that went to overtime. And the funniest thing that we're going to be able to say when we get to next year's Frozen Finals, if the Rangers make it or not, there's only been 2 games ever in the history of the Frozen Finals that have gone to overtime, and the Boston Junior Rangers have been a part of both of them.
Wow, what a start.
Wow. Beautiful.
Like, there you go. And they hadn't won a game before this year's Frozen Finals, right? They were
Nice
0-3 in finals history.
How crazy is that? Then they just rattle off. Yeah, let's get it.
And they lost the 4th too. And we said it earlier, we'll say it again. The fact that they could right the ship that quickly and then win on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday to get their first EHL title, they totally earned it. The 87s, as we mentioned, they earned it in the EHLP. And
Everyone earned their way there, which was nice.
yep.
They did.
And we'll
Everybody
see
competed their
we'll
butts
see
off.
which 2 teams win it next season.
Whoa, we have a long ways to go.
Whoa.
We still gotta get rosters built.
Yes.
As Kyle shows us his Protect Junior Ducks swag.
So our
What's
team
up
of the
with
week
that?
features will start this upcoming week. Obviously, we have to start with the Rangers. Well, maybe we'll hold off the Avalanche for a few weeks and mix it around the league. But we're going to start off with the Rangers. We're going to, comparing to previous seasons, we're going to build an all-time Rangers lineup. I haven't decided yet if we want Rich to be a part of that or not, because I think that I think if we do it, it may take less time than if he does it, because he'll want to have an extra skater and a 5th line and a 3rd goalie, because there's just been so many good players that have worked their way through. So those team of the week features will start this week. As you guys all know, the podcast drops every Thursday. So we got 18 teams to work through. I'm sure a few different interviews over the summer as well. It still hasn't totally set in for me yet, but it is the off season. And now we begin to turn the page very slowly from 2020-21 to 21-22. And thank you
22
guys.
seems like a fake year.
A fake
It
year.
does.
Fake so thank you guys for everything that you did at the finals and all season long. And let's
Thank you to the kids who are aging out.
Yes.
Great run
Yeah,
here,
thank
folks.
you, age outs. You guys
Yes.
made it
Thank you,
fun.
age outs.
And let's
Thank
start.
you, Neil Ravin. Give it up for Neil.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody at home,
Thank
give
you,
Neil.
Oliver.
Let's do a clap for Neil.
I'm clapping quietly so that the microphone doesn't break.
Our fearless leader, Justin Squitieri,
Oh my
says
God.
it's true. He is our fearless leader.
So let's start very slowly, turning the page over for the new season.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.